Hello. Simon is muted.
Oh no, there we go.
Oh man. What a couple of weeks, huh?
Indeed. What happened to...
So did you finish that app? When I
which
came
app?
in, they told me that you had just started Flutter Create and you said it was going to be 2 minutes.
Right. All right. Let's get into the show, and then we can get on with some questions, get on with some coding, the usual.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Indeed.
Yes.
Let's see where the button is.
Let's see here. Be nice, be respectful, be constructive. Come on, folks. This is common sense stuff. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, offensive. Don't advertise or promote yourself. We all know you need a job. And in fact, at the moment, I'm looking for one. Oh, wait, that's a rule. Don't spam the same question over and over and over again. What happens is when we see a question, we put it on the bottom of the list. If you were already on the list, you just went back to the bottom. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. Incels, bigotry, all that other garbage. You will not only be blocked from interacting on this chat, we will be passing your name all over the place to Discord, Slack, and everywhere else. So if some of your other logins suddenly don't work, don't be surprised. Now, the last one, have a good time.
Indeed, especially have a good time. Let's do some introductions briefly. Where are we? I've lost my button.
I'm in Cleveland. You're in London.
Right. There we go. Welcome, everyone. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Lead and CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott.
I am Scott Stahl, also a Flutter Community Lead and organizer GDG Cleveland. You can find me writing code under Good Dog Apps and sometimes underneath the steps at Simon's house.
And then we have some other guests with us. Hey, Randall, welcome to the stage.
Hey, hi, everybody. Happy New Year to all those that I haven't seen since the previous year, since last year, as it might go. Just a real warning here. Comcast, Xfinity, whatever they call it these days, has been evil to me pretty much overnight and even this morning. So I may be dropping out or freezing from time to time. No, there's nothing wrong with me. It's something in the bits, in the tubes. I am Randall Schwartz. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. Have been doing that for 5 years now. My 5th year anniversary came up like a couple of months ago. Really enjoying helping y'all out in the community to get your questions answered and give presentations at things like DevFest and stuff. Been having a great time doing all that. For this show, I am the question magician, which means I am watching the chat for Q: in front of a chat string. That's a question to the panel, to us. If you don't put Q in front of it, I don't know it's for us. I think it's just you chatting amongst yourselves, which you do from time to time as well. You answer each other's questions. I love that when that happens. But if you put Q in front of it, I put it into our queue so that we can answer it in sequence. Just a heads up, we're probably going to cut off questions about an hour into the show because we have a lot to cover and a couple of hard deadlines on the way out. So we will be cutting off.
I believe we're talking about cutting off answering questions, right? So we'll cut off taking questions probably about 40 minutes in.
We can go a little more. It's usually pretty good there. Anyway, so that's how that goes. And I may, again, because of my flakiness on the network, I may be dropping out and just working behind the scenes, or totally gone, and I'll never be able to say goodbye. But we'll see. I'll shut up for now.
And we also have Danielle. Danielle, welcome to the stage.
Hey there, how are you, everybody? Happy New Year! I'd like to wish for me too. And anyway, hi. I'm Danielle Cox, and I am one of the organizers of the Flutteristas, which is a great organization for female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you are watching this and haven't joined yet, let me know. We've got a little bit of backlog getting people in, so if you actually want to join, hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and we can make that happen. Anyway, and I'm also the Flutter lead for a startup company called Dart, and that's my day job. So I get to do Flutter during the day now, which is exciting. And yeah, that's me.
So did anyone get any great Christmas presents? Any interesting Christmas presents?
I got a new hip.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah,
You went-
This is the first show. No, it's the second show since I got my hip replaced. So, but it's all going great. I get my stitches out tomorrow. I'm walking even more without my walker, so I'm doing great. It feels fine. I've been taking no pain medicine at all.
Nice.
Either
How
they
many
cut all
steps
the
yesterday?
nerves down there. I think about 400, but again, it undercounts because my hand's not waving back and forth as I'm using the walker, so I think it undercounts. But yeah, go ahead. I'll get the number later.
Cool.
I just got money, but go ahead. Retro tech. Oh yeah, Simon would hate that.
Yeah. So this is quite cool actually. A full color book with all of the different various computers being explained.
Nice.
That looks like a cool book.
Oh, you know what they
really
call this though?
interesting.
They call this Simon's shopping list
Mm-hmm.
because he's going to go running around eBay trying to find every single one of those things.
There's so it's like so I got that ZX Spectrum next, right? But the reason why I got that and not the original is that it's actually something that can work better than the original. Is more, what's the word? Freshened, basically, right? So it's nice to talk about the nostalgia of these old things, but sometimes after you get to play them, you're like, there's a reason why I like this. I don't like this, or you start remembering the reasons why you may not have liked it back in the day, or something about whatever it was, So it's like you don't break that kind of image of what you remember. I think so. Yeah, just be careful.
Yeah,
I saw a video the other day, which was talking about the way that when you recall memories, you actually edit them. Your brain does the way it forms new connections with the old ones. So when you recall old memories and you're getting new ones, the two things link together. And of course, you're changing your memories then. So, it's something to think about.
Yep. Cool.
Right. So, by the way, we're dual streaming to Twitch today, just for a change. See if that makes any difference to our viewership.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I won't see questions there, so if you're going to have questions, be sure to put it in the.
They all come through.
Chat.
They all come through to the chat in here. Should do.
Oh,
so you'll see a little Twitch icon next to Twitch P ones and a.
Oh right, I was
YouTube one
seeing
next to
that.
YouTube.
I remember this from the New Year's Eve stream we did. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So
I'm going to spam through Twitch, so I see that.
It means I got to log into Twitch again too. That's one more screen I have to manage on a very small laptop.
need to.
I'm not an admin on Twitch, but we've got a spam on Twitch, so we're going to get rid of that.
Yeah, I know. I just went over there. I can't see the message, and the person has already run away like a little coward.
I've already deleted them, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving the
I got the pop hat
YouTube and Twitch up now.
Anyway, so so we've got some. So we were over the Christmas break, Christmas/New Year's break. We did a couple of previous streams. We're doing some live coding on building a little game engine, little game. So I figured we could continue some of that coding today if people are interested. Vote your interest on the channel in the comments, and then we can, if people are interested, we'll do a bit more of that.
I'm gonna raise my hand here.
And what else? There is some previous coding things that people have asked about, so we could also maybe look into a couple of those if you want to do some for the live coding bit. Other than that, get your questions in, and we'll start going through them in just a minute. Anything anyone wants to add, by the way, at the moment, like?
Just an interesting observation for StreamYard. Those of you on Twitch apparently are not going to be able to see YouTube chat, and YouTube chat's not going to be able to see Twitch chat.
Yeah, they got their own separate chats, but we get to see the comments.
We get it all.
Bring them up on the screen. Yeah.
And Frey's on both. I mean, he's hardcore. He's a hardcore fan of the show.
Nice.
Yeah, he's on both.
See, Matt, you have been surpassed.
Yeah.
Frey did some live streaming the other day, and it was like I saw his tweet saying live streaming, and just as I clicked on it, he'd apparently ended like 4 minutes early. I was like,
oh man.
Oh,
it's just like I always seem to like get to these things just too late,
One thing about me, I just want to throw out there. I have been falling behind on a lot of stuff because I did leave Twitter, and apparently no one else did permanently. except for a few
No.
people.
No, I'm sorry.
And you see, I'm falling behind on a lot of stuff and what's going on, and I don't see what's going on. So I guess I'm going to have to go back. And actually, it wasn't Musk buying Twitter that did it. It was Musk interfering with Ukraine's ability to defend itself by monkeying around with their internet.
Anyway.
So anyhow, you guys are all talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, if we're still going to do our little bit of a chit chatty kind of thing, why don't we pull up a phrase question? Because I think that's something that'd be fun to talk about.
Oh yeah,
I can do it if you want.
Which
I just
one?
don't want to do it and you take it right off.
the one about New Year's plans, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just figured if we're
yes.
chatting, this is a good chat kind of
No,
question.
that's great.
Flutter-based resolutions. How would a resolution be Flutter-based?
Well, I'm going to get my YouTube channel going again.
I mean, do you mean like 320 by 240, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get my YouTube channel going up again and start getting stuff going with that. I am going to I'm working on a package for the testing talk I did at Prague. I want to do videos on that, but also get that package up. And those are what I plan on doing this year, and I'm putting it out there now so everybody hears it. So I want all of my friends out there to hold my feet to the fire for it. Let's make sure it happens.
I want to get more videos out. I also, because I fell out of the top 5 for North American GDEs on a month-by-month basis. I've been in the top 5 for like the last 2 years, and I fell out of the bottom for this call we just had yesterday. And I went, oh no, I'm no longer in the top 5. So I have to start doing more GDE work. So that means more promotions, more live talks. I mean, it's not a burden. It's just things I got to remember to do. So,
well, I fell out of the top 0. A, not a GDE, and B, because I haven't really been doing any content for a while because I was frantically working on an app. But yeah, for me this year, it's definitely going to be mastering some things that are not directly Flutter related. You know, all the extra things around it, like getting better at DevOps, mastering widget book better, things like that. Also, I want to start getting some videos out there. My videos are going to be quite unusual. I will try to keep them family friendly. It's going to be a struggle with my own personal style, but yeah, there's that. And I actually want to get on writing my own app. So hopefully one day I won't have to work for anyone else.
I think Flutter-based resolutions. I think there's usual sort of New Year's resolutions of like kind of like eat better and more exercise and all the usual things like that. But Flutter-based resolutions, I think, I don't think I've got a particular what I would call a resolution, but something I do want to get done this year is finish off the 3D game engine. So a lot of that's been waiting on fellow kayak buddy. Yeah.
We were in a kayak all around Stockholm. It was a blast.
Yeah. Just recently, for those that might have been following or not, a lot's been going on with the Flutter GPU stuff, the stuff we're going to be seeing soon with 3D, and I was I've been given some code to try out and some things to work on, so I'm going to port the Wipeout engine I had working in the previous iterations, the 3D Scene API from Impeller, over to using this new one, and as a little trial. And then if that goes well, hopefully we'll be seeing a 3D engine that people can use going forwards for making stuff in Flutter, which would be fun.
That would be cool. I figured your Flutter-based resolution would just be continue being awesome.
See, now he's going to starve. Well, yeah, he's going to starve because you made his head too big now to get to the front door. So he's not going to be able to pick up the Chinese food deliveries.
No. They get them delivered to your house. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I did miss one thing.
No, I was going to say, hang on, I was going to say that the other thing is for the show, I think there's some things that we want to do in terms of format, more promotion, shorts, I don't know, things that we just really kind of beef this up the next level. So yeah, that would also be another thing to do this year.
We've had a lot of discussions about things like that, things that we've been wanting to do for quite a while, but haven't gotten around to, mainly because we're a little concerned at how much more time it's going to take. If we tried to do all the things that we've been talking about, plus the regular stream in one package, we're talking like a 5-hour sit in front of the camera to do it all. And I did miss one thing that I think everybody might be interested in. One of my other Flutter resolutions, one of my biggest ones, is to finally finish and land the PR on all the new documentation for flex, row, column, how the algorithm works for stack and all that.
Wow.
Something that actually I've got something that came up on that note over the break actually. So a tweet, Casey Rogers, is it Casey Rogers?
Yeah,
Casey Rogers did a tweet around a bunch of things he was unhappy with Flutter. They're just little things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It had it was a good little tweet list, and it was hyperbole at the top. He was like, "This is why Flutter's something." I can't remember. It was something just to get everyone looking at his
fun
post.
with it.
Having fun with it to a point. Anyway, but it just reminded me that I've experienced a lot of these myself, and I think once you've started using Flutter for a long time, you either work around them, or you don't approach them in different ways. So you don't. You overcome them rather than trying to actually solve it in code or solve it with documentation. You just learn to overcome the problem, the problems that Flutter has for beginners and things like that, right? So I think something that I want to be doing is making as I go along using Flutter. Whenever I come across something like this, try and make an actual note of it, and then go back and actually submit those as patches, because I think it just overall, I think the community as a whole, if we were to do that, then the product at the end of it would be so much better. So
Yep.
All right, that's one question down.
Questions are flying in. We may have to cut them off at 40 to 45 just because of the rate. To give you an idea, we try to estimate 2 minutes per question, and we know that's foolish because it actually takes 4 to 5. But we keep being optimistic.
Simon takes 2 minutes to warm up to the question. Then, laying all the groundwork out. And then he said, let's look at situation 3 of this subcase. Yeah.
To give you, and you folks don't see it, but we have 14 in the queue right now.
Yeah.
So right now, we're probably looking at an hour and 15 minutes answering questions before we can even get to code. And we've already been on for 20 minutes.
Get your questions in real soon before we have to cut you off. And I hate keeping typing. No, sorry, we're past the cutoff. I don't mind. Actually, I don't mind typing it, but it's still a little silly. Sad when I do that.
Yeah, it is.
Next.
So the only other thing, I got an expired driver's license for the holidays.
Congratulations.
Did Santa
I've got to go out and fix that.
Santa brought that?
Yeah, really. Really.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to prove that Santa exists.
Yes, let's get to questions because we can chat about ourselves all day long and we're not actually that entertaining.
Sure can. Right.
What is your tip to handle lists? Wait, I have a tip to handle lists within lists, and you may not know how long the lists are. Boy, this is an old.
You mean two-dimensional
problem?
Lists?
No, nested lists. Nested.
Yeah, two-dimensional. Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest with you. I try to avoid it. I mean, there's not very often you actually need two-dimensional lists. They're easily usable. So there's a function on a list called put if absent. Is it put if absent? No, that's
on a map.
You can do a similar thing with an extension where basically, if the item of that index doesn't exist, and you can add an item at that index or something like that. But
now, when you say a tip to handle, I'm sorry. When you say a tip to handle, there's 2 completely different situations here. Are you trying to put a vertical list in a vertical list, or a horizontal list in a vertical list?
I don't know. So do you mean data structure lists? Sorry, or do you mean actual lists, as in UI lists?
Oh, I'm thinking list view.
And I thought data structure because that's a list view.
I thought data.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. List. Yeah, you can do 5, 6, 7 dimensional lists.
Okay,
those can be
try and clarify that point, just so we're talking about the same thing.
We'll be watching, and we will We will come right back at you.
I'm going to say, if it was list views in list views, done. That's the answer. Don't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
a performance hit.
It's not just that. It's a UX. It's a complete UX nightmare, and you can't interact with them properly. You like if I want to scroll the outside list without scrolling the inside list, I have to go to the top or bottom of the inside list before I start scrolling the outside list. Like it's why make it more difficult, right? If you're trying to do this from a perspective of list views, obviously at the moment, if you're trying to do this from a perspective of how you build like a dynamic layout with lists inside lists, don't put the widgets within each other. You can make one list with everything in. And I explained that before using a custom scroll view and slivers. So you can have a custom scroll with multiple sliver lists inside it. And now that we have the sliver vertical, it's a sliver vertical group, sliver horizontal group or something like that, main group and cross-axis group, something like that. Now you can do all your layouts in slivers if you wanted to, right? And in doing so, you can actually have really nice scrolling content. In fact, we did this on the stream for the WoW shopping app, and I will post a link in the chat to the code so you can go take a look.
Cool.
I have to run for a quick second. I have made a tragic, horrible mistake. I left my coffee in the kitchen. Be right back.
No.
That's it. The world's going to end.
Yes.
Spy driver license and cough in the kitchen. What's going to happen next? Right.
I guess I put my virtual Scott for a second here then.
Let me quickly grab this.
Let me hide this.
So the code is linked to the channel, and then specifically it was. Let me dig out the exact reference just so you can. It was home. It was like the. Is it the home recents or something?
And
yeah.
And while I guess we're kind of waiting on that part, going back to transit, is data structures. Like I was on the same page as you were, Simon, as a data structure. The one thing that you might want to keep in mind is if you want it to be a sparse, like two-dimensional array kind of setup, then you can use a map, to set it up.
The thing is, I can tell you where people go wrong with this, right? I see this all too often in code, right? People, developers, right? You build a structure based off maps and lists and primitive data types, and then when you want to actually expand upon it, you end up hacking into it and breaking old code, and because you've got no classification, you've got no classes. Just put a map field in a class, just put a list field in a class, and then even if the class only has one field that is the next level deeper, which is like the map or the list or whatever is deeper, because it gives you a point now that you can go, oh, I want to add a title. I want to add a cached variable in there. I want to add some functions. I want to do all this kind of stuff. You can then expand upon it. Doing that thing where you just go use primitive types up front for everything immediately is just bound to give you headaches.
But that's not what you told me before. You told me it was perfectly fine to use a list of bit flags.
Shut up. But the point here is that a list of lists is fine, but if you start then going, okay, that list inside is not a list of primitives, it's a list of objects, and then you go, I'd like to know why you've got, if it's a data structure, why you've got a list of lists. Like, what is the purpose of that? Because I'll be honest with you, for most times people want to do treat it as like a two-dimensional, like a bitmap almost, right? You have like an X and a Y, in which case it's actually a list of pixels, and then the X and the Y are actually end up being the index into that list of pixels. Like you don't treat it as a two-dimensional list of lists, right?
And point of order for a second, Pradeep, I don't know if we mentioned it in the opening of the show, but if you ask the same question twice, you lost your place in the line. You're now down at the end again. So don't do that. Don't ask the same question twice. We've seen them. They're in the list. Don't worry.
Right. What's the next question then?
The list is 14 deep, by the way, so please be patient.
Yes.
I'm trying to
go ahead. I've got dog in background making noise.
I'm trying to implement Kafka messaging to my Flutter application, but not working seamlessly with Flutter. Is working with Angular properly? Can you suggest any resource or library? Okay, so you're trying to access your Kafka straight from your app, your Kafka instance. I mean, I don't know what your problem would be. I mean, is there a client library for Kafka? I have no idea. And I'd say, I mean, Flutter itself, there's no problem. Like, it shouldn't cause any issues for Flutter. I just say what is made probably your particular implementation. So, I mean, I just looked on pub, and there's a Kafka, which is an old Dart 3 incompatible 3-year-old library. There's Kafka, Flutter equivalent to Kafka, which might just give you like a Kafka kind of thing to use inside your Flutter app. Kafka client for Dartlang. That sounds Kafka BR. I've never used any of these before. I think the problem here is you're saying I'm trying to implement Kafka messaging to my Flutter app. Are you saying from some backend server to your Flutter, or just within your Flutter app? And also, yeah, I mean, what library are you using? I think there's not much we can really add to it, right? Like,
I just got a carrier pigeon flying in, and when I pulled the note off of its leg, it said Randall's internet keeps freezing. It's a fast pigeon. It came all the way across the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this one. So for those that don't, hang on, where's the share button?
That was Lauren, by the way.
Let's see if I can get this bigger. Coming through. Yeah, so this is one I was just looking at. Out of like the search for Kafka and seeing the first few hits, like none of these two aren't good. Probably Kafka library for Dartlang seems like it's probably a nice option here. Support for, and I don't know if that's a recent version of Kafka's API. It says it's currently work in progress though, so bound to change. Danielle, can you mute if that's your? Yeah, thanks. I mean, producer can. I mean, looks good enough right now. So I think like let's, I guess, just try it out and we'll see what happens. Yeah, let us know if you get any feedback or what libraries you've tried.
Okay, Randall is still here in the background. He's just cutting off his video, hoping that will save some bandwidth.
Yeah. So, sorry. How would you pronounce it? Yankatisha? Yeah, Yankis. I don't know. Sorry, terrible names.
In order to be respectful, I'm not even going to try.
All right. Well, post again if you've got an update on that. Let's go to the next one.
Gotcha. Okay, buddy. How do you clear the cache data when capturing a photo from camera image or the image picture package? It's increasing the cache data.
Okay. There's two caches involved. So I'm going to tell you how to do both, and then you can work out which one you're trying to do. So one is there's an in-memory cache in Flutter for all images that you display. What's probably happening here, Pradeep, is you're doing something that most people do. That is, they take the image that comes straight from the camera sensor that's massive and go, okay, show me that on the screen as a little tiny thumbnail. And that's a bad idea because you've just taken like a 12 megabyte compressed image, which is probably 80 megabytes uncompressed, and going, okay, stick that in my cache to display this tiny little image, which could be done with like 20 kilobytes. So the first thing you want to do is ensure that you're getting thumbnail data. There's several thumbnail packages and things like that, and use that. So that's one thing. That way you shouldn't be having to clear the cache data because it will clear itself, and you're not like just using the entire cache for one image, for example. Inside Flutter, there's an inbuilt image cache, and that caches all image providers. So what am I talking about here? Let's see if I can bring this up. Chat up. If it loads. Well, whilst I'm waiting for that, Yeah, so if you use like network image, asset image, I think there's a memory image, file image, all of them will. Let's see, here we go. So if I look for the image widget, for example, just going to chase this one down just to, for some reason, quite slow. It's only slow when I'm streaming, you know. So you can see here's some of the other constructors. You can see for obtaining a new image provider. And there's several implementations of image provider. There should be a list down here somewhere. Oh, here we go. File, memory, network, resize, scroll aware. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. The more you know. Okay. So
that's got to be
this,
encouraging for everybody else.
This is cool.
When
look,
Simon learns something, that's got to be encouraging for everybody else. I'm just saying.
Yeah, wait a minute. What?
So scroll away image provider. You wrap your current image provider with this, and you give it a disposable build context. And then what's going to happen is it's going to register this image provider against that build context, so that when scrolling takes place, it won't have to redecode it when it comes back on screen. Instead, it uses it from the image cache. So like it basically it links the two things better together. So there you go. This is actually talking about the global image cache itself here. So this is a property of the painting binding, I think it is. And there you go. Class for caching images, implements least recently used. This is called an LRU, or least recently used cache, up to 1,000 images and up to 100 megabytes in size. And you can actually adjust that as well. But this actually has a function in the global cache for eviction. Are you trying to say something?
Yes, teacher. Honestly, a lot of times I'll throw questions out there. You know, I am the beginner's representative. I've been doing teaching for quite a while, and a lot of times I'll throw questions out there that I know the answers to, but I realize from the conversation that there may be things that are falling between the cracks and beginners won't understand. This is not one of those times. What is the difference between a build context and a disposable build context? Because I really have never seen a disposable build context.
I'm assuming it's a build context that you can dispose. So let's have a look in the documentation here. But
yeah, now this is a lesson in how to dig through the docs to find out what you need to know. And so that's one of the most important things.
That's interesting. Recommend deferred loading for context.
What?
So basically, it's using this flag from the scrollable to actually. So you don't even have to use this scroll away image provider. But you can actually use this method directly if you wanted to. Anyway, I digress. Right. So disposable build context provides a non-leaking access to a build context. So as we know, you don't want to hang on to a build context all the time, right? Especially for long-lived, because they represent an element which can be attached and removed from the view hierarchy at any time. So it's not really good to keep hold of them for a long period of time. So this, by the looks of it, says a build context is only valid if it's pointed to an active element. Once the element is unmounted, the build context should not be accessed further. This class is made possible for a stateful widget to share its build context safely with other objects.
Wait a minute. Time out. If I am understanding this correctly, and maybe I'm not, but if I have a stateful widget calling a different widget, or calling some class, or instantiating some class, or calling a method and passing its context on, wouldn't it be better to use the disposable?
Yes, that's what it's saying. That's what this is for.
That's what I thought it said.
Yeah. So this object will not hold onto the state after it's been disposed, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's have a quick look. This is probably just like a little wrap up, but let's here you go. So T state. So this is whatever the state type is from the widget. when you try and fetch the context, if it's null, it returns null, otherwise it returns context, and of which that could be nullable. And then dispose sets it to null. It's that simple. It just manages it.
Okay, hang on. You said T, the state. Where was that T again? Where was that generic? Right.
Oh yeah,
there.
no, it's being passed
So
in here.
it-
T of state.
Okay,
Sorry.
right. So what I'm looking at here is it extends state. I'm assuming that's your state name for T. Like
Oh yes,
my
whatever.
widget, my stateful widget state extend.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there's not
Interesting.
much to this. I suspect like the debug method, the dispose method here is not actually being called directly. So somewhere else in the framework, it will probably reference this.
Am I seeing this wrong, or is this something that really should be drilled into everyone as a best practices?
I mean, the point here is you shouldn't try and need it in the first place. This is expressly needed in this case because you're trying to have something that's long-lived, that's external to the entire build system that needs to have access to the object. And this also requires it from the visual aspect. But most people pass these build contexts around to go use it as a like a service locator and start using like provider in like a background context, which is not the appropriate way of doing that. So you're then creating this kind of spaghetti code, right? Like you're then involving bits of your UI with bits that are not your UI, and before you know it, you're gonna have a tangled mess in your hands. So yeah. Anyway, let's I think that was so yeah. Let's get back to the question: how to clear. So we completely got off topic. How to clear the cache there. So so as I said, if we go back to that example, every image provider, whatever type it is. So if you use an image widget, which hopefully I'll go back to.
We fall down documentation holes the way some people fall down widget holes. I'm sorry,
So
Wikipedia holes.
Widget holes, yeah. So these constructors, for those that don't know, the image widget has several constructors like asset, file, memory, network, and so on. If you actually look at the implementation of these constructors, we'll take a quick look since we're here. You'll see. So here's the image.network. This is the constructor for it. And what it does on the inside is it sets up a, you can see here, a resize if needed network image provider, basically. So this network image provider, under the hood, will all the image providers are cacheable, and as I said, there's a global cache. If you create your own image provider by calling, for example, this network, the one we just saw, network image, you can pass it directly to the image widget without having to call one of those like image.network. If you create a network image, let's say from a URL, just like you would do normally, network image with a URL, there's a function called evict right here. And then that, you don't have to pass a cache. If you don't pass a cache, you'll use the default cache, and that allows you to evict this particular image, i.e. the one that you previously had, from the cache. That's how you do it. So you would hold on to so for example, in your case, you're capturing a new photo and you would clear the old one from the memory cache. So you would have the file. I guess it's a file. That's what you normally get. So you use a file. What's it called? A file image. Yeah. So you use a file image. Put your file path from your previous file in here, and then call the .evict function on that, and then wait for it to finish, and then that will evict this image from the image cache. There is a Hail Mary approach that you can do, which evicts all images from the cache. I would not recommend it. But you can do painting binding dot image cache dot evict. I think evict all or something. Hang on, where is it? Evict.
Evict.
You can evict this particular object. Yeah, clear live images. Clear live image references when complete not to use. There you go. So there's a clear live images. I think I feel like there's another function. or maybe it's been changed to that. Clear. There you go. That's the one I was looking for. Evicts all pending and keep alive entries from the cache. So yeah, that's just going to just dump everything basically. So I wouldn't recommend it, because then, when you go back to your previous screen and it's got images on, it's going to have to reload them from the cache, right? You could do something else, and that is you can create your own image cache and just decide to use that. Maybe for your one screen if you needed to. That's another option. But yeah, honestly, just evicting the one image is probably good enough. Now that is about evicting from the memory cache. Let me be clear about this. So I take the scenario that the person's got, Pradeep here has got. You use photo picker, image picker, whatever. You take a picture. The person takes a picture. The operating system returns back to you the file path. It does. Well, then you're doing it wrong, right? I'm telling you, it does. Anyway,
this is probably getting to be one of those where you need to see the code.
Hang on.
Okay.
As I said, there's two caches, and I think he's talking about the other cache. Let me explain. So, right. So the scenario is the person takes a photo. They snap their button. They press the camera button. The operating system returns you a file for where the image is stored on disk. That is stored in it can be stored in two places, one or two places, and it can be what's called content URI, which is it's a URL from another application, because they might have picked an existing photo. However, if they took a new photo, what normally happens is it's saved into your app's cache directory, and that's in like a local storage directory. And if you look at path provider package, path_provider package, you'll find that there's a get cache directory function in there. So what you can do is you can actually clear that directory as well if you want to clear the disk cache as well. But yeah, you can evict it from the memory cache, no problems. What you might be experiencing is how you're displaying it. So if you looked in what we just saw there, you notice that it wraps the network image or the file image in a resized image. That creates a different entry in the cache for the resized image. So you need to be evicting the same one that you're trying to display in terms of images to be sure that you're trying to evict the right one. Otherwise, you're trying to evict something that doesn't exist. The flag, if you notice on that evict function, there's a boolean that you get back that tells you if it was successfully evicted or not. So if you're literally displaying an image and you can't evict it, that's because you're trying to evict something that is not being displayed. It's that simple. So look at what you're actually trying to put in the cache, and you can actually pause your app and look at the cache and go through it and see what it is, right? There's a ton of solutions there. Anyway, hope that solves the question about caches.
Yeah.
Now, are we cutting out questions, by the way?
Yeah, it's probably around now. Cut questions
Okay.
off.
Yeah, Randall has made the announcement, at least to us.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Yeah. And Vladislav, you got the last question in. So anyway, where are we here? Can one use other payment gateways rather than GPay and iOS, respectively, to accept payment without the app getting rejected? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. And the answer is both yes and no. Due to a wonderful lawsuit that is probably going to come down on Apple like a lead balloon.
It's not just because of the lawsuit. The answer has always been yes or no.
Yeah.
So let me explain that. Digital goods must go through GPay or Apple Pay if they're in-app purchases. If, however, like eBay, like anything that's physical goods, you can use whatever payment provider you want. There's nothing.
In fact, you have to, don't you?
Well, they
you
can't.
can't use the in-app then, yeah.
You can't use it in that. But the point, you can use, okay,
Well,
let me be clear. You can
it's
still use
Spotify,
Apple
though.
Pay. You can still use Apple Pay and GPay to pay for those goods, but it's like a physical payment. It's not an in-app purchase. They're different systems, right? But the point here is, if you're paying for physical goods with any payment gateway, you can just do that. You can use any payment gateway. You want to use Stripe, but it has to be. If you go look at the guidelines for the two stores, they literally have these written out. You know, if it's digital services that they get access to from within the app, it's in-app purchases. If it's external to the app, then it's then you can use a payment gateway. So, for example, all the e-commerce stuff, like buying a pizza or something, all those like the food purchase apps, they're all going to use a payment gateway of whatever they want. They don't have to use Apple Pay and GPay.
And that makes sense if you think about it, because they want their cut.
Yeah, there is.
They want their 30%. But okay, so how does this? Because the Spotify would have qualified as in-app purchases, and they were given an exemption, right? Which is what caused the problem.
It's like this.
Sorry. Hang on. We're talking around people. The problem I'm speaking of is someone sued the Google Play Store or Google or something because they wanted to get around the 30%, and apparently the App Store had cut Spotify some kind of deal that allowed them to do it. So then there was a lawsuit saying why them and not us.
Apple reduced the whole thing down to 15%, I think, for subscription after a certain thing. There's both the stores have been in over many years. Have been into this. Even worse, Apple has really bad business practices of I know it's firsthand from other people, but things like just denying applications from going out in the store, application updates because they're about to release their own competing service, things like that, which they could just choose. I don't like this people. I don't want you on my store because it's they're the monopoly, right? So if they want to, they can say no. We don't want your app on our system. And at any point, here's the thing you have to remember, right? Again, I know I'm not trying to scare people, but you have to remember that you have your app you have your app out on like the iPhone store, and that's your entire, let's say, your income for your entire business. Yeah. And one day Apple go, no, literally not a leg to stand on.
Nope.
I mean, it's their platform.
It's a private service, technically.
Yeah. Now, this is why, but the problem is it becomes a monopoly on those devices. And because the devices are so ubiquitous, there's a big whole thing now around the EU fighting this and making sure that it can be opened up more. And it's not so much, you have third-party businesses and players, and there's going to be changes going into the future, I'm sure, because of this exact thing. Like, people now rely so much on these things that they've had a monopoly for so many years. Something's going to break.
It's like in the U.S., when something reaches a certain point, it no longer is a standard private service. It becomes what we call a utility, something that you basically just can't live without. It's like internet. Internet used to be just this optional thing that you could buy and no big deal. Well, now it's reached the point where it's considered a utility like your electricity. Yeah,
it literally, the way it works in the UK is the internet supply cannot just cut you off. They have to give you they can reduce your connection speed and other things, but they can't just cut your internet off. That's actually against the I can't remember what the governing body is, Ofcom. They've got now rules and regulations around this, and they can get you can actually bring this up with them, and then they will sue them on behalf of you and the government. The government will sue them basically, but on behalf of yourself.
Looks like we have a follow-up. Sorry.
I'm kind of go off topic here, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. What payment gateway would you use to fund something like a virtual wallet? And do you redirect?
That's complicated. And I'm not, and we're not here to go read the guidelines. That's literally what they're there for.
And if you're getting into something like that where there's going to be a bunch of money involved, consult a lawyer. Really, this is find a good lawyer for this kind of thing.
A virtual wallet sounds pretty digital to me. So
but this is the thing. Yeah, but there's a whole thing around cryptocurrency as well that's completely separate to all of this, right? And then virtual wallet can maybe considered cryptocurrency. I don't know what you're doing, so we're not here to give you any sort of advice or legal advice or advice on how to do.
Yeah, this is way beyond our expertise.
So what I'm going to tell you right now is go read the guidelines and then make up your own mind. If you feel that you need third-party expertise, then go find someone that actually is that practices law, that has experience with the app stores. Yeah, there's plenty of them out there, and they'll be cheap enough.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's so much money at stake. Probably it's worth it. Sorry, go ahead, Danielle.
I was going to say I did a little bit of work on a cannabis-based project, which cannot be run. The Apple Store will not allow you to put one of those apps in there too. And the way around that was to basically have a browser that you could install and then create a web app. So, I don't know how that project ended out because I didn't finish it. So, But,
the problem here is that if they think that you're working around the rules at any point, they can say no, unless you're banned, right? They'll ban your account. So it's not about because you can, you should. It's because it can backfire you tremendously. Because they will just hold all your money. They might just like hold a bunch of things and like not give you access to anything. You lose all your customers, you lose all your records. Like they could be that bad.
Yeah, and they won't pay you because they'll call it a TOS violation.
Yeah.
Well, in this case,
As terms of service.
Yeah, in this case, I'm talking about something that doesn't go through the store at all. Basically runs through a browser.
But even then, they can say that you're trying to get around their policies by doing that.
Yeah, but how are they going to do that if you're not on the store in the first place?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
you mean the entire app?
Then it becomes just a web service.
Right. Yeah, it's just a web app.
It's just a web app. Yes. Oh. Yeah. If you can just sorry, to be clear, that is the other point. You can just build a web app and then you completely avoid the stores, right? However, the impact from web apps are not as ubiquitous as stores, nowhere near as ubiquitous as the apps in the stores. And you can't have Apple will just deny you an app if it's just a wrapper around a web app. They just blanket deny you. And especially if that web app
not actually an app.
Like content that they just don't allow, right? Like and yeah, they will just review that all the time. I mean, honestly, it's just not worth it. Anyway, so yeah. Sorry, I was thinking you meant like trying to get around the whole payment by using the web. Yeah. Because that's sorry, to bring up the I can't remember what the question was now.
I'll find it. But the other thing too that I'm wondering is
the point. It was a follow up. Someone said about using a web view.
That was the follow up. That's the follow up. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So and that's the other thing. Like just because you're using a web view, you're trying to work around the problem, right? It's not that you're making the way that you do it makes zero difference, right, to them. From a policy standpoint, it's you're still doing it from within the app. Just because you're using a web view to do it doesn't make any difference to if you're using the drive. So just be cautious that it can backfire on you.
Also,
if you're like,
I was just going to say a quick one. Lag. All right, I'll finish this one real quick, and actually, I'm asking you two about it. It could be tempting to try to use a sideload in order to get around this, but sideload is against the terms of service of using the Apple, I believe it's operating system, or is it the iPhone, or both? And it's against the user's terms of service. I have seen it.
No.
Well, what I'm going to say is actually,
there's a difference when you talk about side loading. If you've got like a rooted device and you put yes, that is right. But for an application to run on iOS, it has to be signed. It has to be signed with a certificate that Apple have. So there's the side loading in the way that you do on Android is not the same as you side loading an app on iOS. On iOS, you can go create your app and never distribute to the app stores and still go through and still get it on a device. There's many ways of doing that on Apple, but it's private. It's privately, distributed, which means you don't have the face of the public, which is the whole point of having your app. So,
true, you'd have to distribute via website or something.
I would also recommend not sideloading anything if at all possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
unless your buddy made it.
The factor is huge. I mean,
the amount of times I see people doing this, it's like, would you receive it if you receive? Let's say you're on Mac and you receive like an attachment, which is my favorite app. .app or whatever it is. Would you open it up and run it? No, you just wouldn't do that. Same as even on Windows, if you received an email saying, "Oh, the best," I don't know, something convincing.exe in your emails, you're not going to open it up, are you? You're not going to run this random code on your computer. No, it's the same thing.
It could be on your website and people would download it voluntarily the way they do apps every day.
This is the problem that you then get into. People are going to take that APK, right? This is the difference. People are going to download the APK. Nefarious, dodgy people are going to download the APK. They're going to modify it. They're going to add a virus to it. They're going to start distributing on other third-party websites. Someone looks for your product. They're going to find it from a third-party website, not realizing it's not yours. Or it could be a clone website that pretends to be you. They download that. there's no verification of that to a third-party service like it does do with Google Play, and your signature is not valid. Anyone, you can install anything with a debug key. It doesn't make a difference, and you've just entirely opened yourself up to a whole different problem set, right? So the point here is distributing via APK should be left to the, if you, from a developer standpoint, we know what we want to run and install, right? From an end user perspective, you don't want that, right? Like we can go, oh, this is an APK, I'm going to go build this from source code and install it. That's fine, right? But from an end user perspective, they shouldn't even have a notion of what APK is, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to run, but I did want to get one question in. If we can skip ahead here, I've got something prepped for it. How to replicate a complex UI design. Now, it's a very vague question, but fortunately, there is an entire website for it.
Credentials.
Yeah, there's an entire website that goes into this on the Flutter docs. Where are you at? There you are. Okay, and it is build a Flutter layout. You can do docs.flutter.dev right here. UI layout tutorial. And what this will do is it will walk you through how to break a page down and create a much more complex layout by breaking what you want down into pieces. So this is your answer, really, right here. What you're asking is, how do you approach the problem? And this is how you do it. So again, it's docs.flutter.dev UI layout tutorial. And you can find it also right here. It's called Build a Flutter Layout. You can try to Google that if you need to.
Post the link in the chat.
Yeah.
I think the it's an interesting question, to be honest. Like I mean, just talk over this a bit. You say replicate a complex. I mean, what is complex about the UI layout? That's the problem, right? Like most UI layouts are not complicated. Like again, it's what Scott just said. It's about how you break it down. A lot of people don't think outside the box about how they need to approach something, and a lot of the time they don't know that they should be.
The whole page there has boxes everywhere, and now you're telling people to think outside the box.
Yeah, because literally I'll give you a good example of this, of having, let's say you have a header and your main body, and you have a circle button that overlaps the two. Most people don't know how to accomplish that, right? It's just foreign, like to do, because there's no widget that does this special. You can do a column, you can do a row, you can do a stack. Where do I position it inside my stack? Do I position it with pixels down? But then I want the header to change size. I want the button to move with it. It's like you start thinking about all these other behaviors. You go, well, just do a custom multi-child layout. That's what it's there for, right? And the same goes for render objects. If you want to go down to the root of doing that, you do a render object. So I think really it's about what you're trying to replicate. You need a practical example. But how to break it down bit by bit. Think about how you need to approach it.
I mean, it's it also is going to depend if you want that's good. I like that. I actually am going through that a little bit right now. I've got a huge deadline coming up in mid-February, and I'm in the negotiating phase, saying, okay, which parts of these are really needed? So that actually is. I mean, he's saying it as a joke. But I mean, that really is something to keep in mind. This is not to do one for yourself, but I mean, but in general, you need to be prepared to be realistic. And if you need to simplify something to make it work, go for it. What I was going to say,
no, I don't mean to. Just raised a very interesting point that I had run into in the past. You have a deadline coming up, and you bust your rear end on it, and you stay up late, and you're exhausted, and you present it to them, and then you find out that really the deadline wasn't that big a deal. They just said it because they wanted to see you work faster.
Or you get to the day of the deadline, they change their minds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've ran into this several times in a row with the same client, and I was just about at the point where I was going to tell them, I'm no longer going to take your deadline seriously because you don't. How would you handle that, Danielle, since you're in the middle of that kind of negotiation right now?
There is a serious amount of trust that if someone tells you that this is a deadline that can't be missed, it better be a deadline that can't be missed. And if they don't get to pull that off once, at which point then you do what you can do. If there's no, and I mean, it's like everything else in life, though. It also depends on where you stand. Like how bad do you need this job?
Mm-hmm.
If you really need this job, then, and they say it's a deadline, you're going to treat it like a deadline. But that's kind of but how would I handle it? I definitely, how hard I will work to make sure I meet that deadline does have some dependence on the trust that that's a real deadline. I have to believe it's a real deadline. Otherwise I'm not going to, just physically, I can't stay up till 2 a.m. working on something if I don't believe in the deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
I did that for practically almost an entire week on this one where they said, the owner needs to see. I get done. Nobody's available on the day of the deadline. Nobody looks at it. So I put together a video on it and then I go to bed. The next morning I wake up and my feedback on the whole thing is that the video was too long. I'm like, are you kidding me? You told me you wanted all these things. I got them in the app. I went over how they all work. And your only feedback at all is that the video is too long.
Well, I mean, that's important information if you're going to keep dealing with these people. I mean, it really is. It's fool me once kind of thing.
I was going to say the other side of this is there's a lot of give and take that can take place. Sometimes things are just not physically possible, and because they're going to, it's not when I say physically possible, I mean like even if you were to do that kind of thing, like stay up late and work on something, you're not going to be as productive for a period of time after that. You're just condensing it. You're condensing this like an average amount of work into a short period of time. But there's only so much of this can take place. They can't expect to you meet this thing and then go, oh no, we need more stuff, because it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. It's nowhere near as quick. And even if you said yes and yes, you burn out. Then that's where burnout comes in, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's an aspect of give and take. I think you need to work on I think what Danielle was saying this about negotiations. It's about going, okay, that's not going to be possible in that amount of time, but we can do this. Or what happens if we approach this a different way and solve it in a different way? That most of the time, that's perfect. That's just as good, right? They don't need. It's a bit like you talk about maybe. I'm trying to think of it. I can't even think of a good example of this, but maybe there's some mechanism they're asking for. And they're asking for this, do it this way, and it's like you can achieve the whole same thing with the code base, but it'd be a lot quicker if we just change this one little bit about it. It suddenly reduces the complexity 10x. Then it's like they don't know that, right? They don't know the ins and outs of the code base or how it all behaves and everything else. So you need to give that feedback and say, look, if we make this one change, I can get this done for you on time.
Yeah.
Most of them, they're going to go, that sounds reasonable. We'll do that.
Then
they get done with that.
You're
not stressing yourself out. And then they've already been approached with, exactly what it was. But you need to have that give and take. You need to have that discussion.
One difference between having like a contract, I'm doing this little part for you, and actually having a job somewhere is also, my boss knows that there's a limited amount of that you can just go at for now it's like 110% or whatever it is, that you can do, you can do all this extra stuff. There's only so much of that you get before it burns out, you start making mistakes, whatever. And so also letting them know that, okay, we can make this happen, but this is going to be using that up, and planning for it in the future is also important. And
a lot of, I was going to say on that point, a lot of developers are quite optimistic and they don't know how to say no.
Yeah.
Frankly, and
Tim Sneath just put up a post because I just got back into looking at Twitter again this morning, and I know Tim Sneath put up that post with Steve Jobs talking about the way you stay focused is by telling people no.
Hey, kind of my Steve Jobs little bit of imitation with a
one last point before I run.
I want to say one more thing on that topic though. Is it's painful. If you're not going to make the deadline, it's painful. But I promise you, it's better to let them know now than to surprise them at the deadline.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Because deadlines can be moved And the earlier you start talking about moving the deadline, the easier it is to move.
Yeah.
Because maybe they were making plans around this deadline, and if you ask them to move it at the last minute, that's a problem.
Yeah.
No, I think the other thing, know your limit, knowing your limitations, know how far you can push yourself. Something you get with experience when you're doing these things, but knowing that there's, I can't make that in that amount of time, and being upfront about that. A lot of the time, that the problem is that can happen closer and closer to the deadline. So you need to be more and more aware of what might happen during that time period. And what I mean by this is, it's all about managing expectations. Is the words that have been used in the industry, but managing expectations. But you go, oh, this is going to take this amount of time. There's going to be unknowns, so we're going to say, okay, it's going to take more time. And then you go, okay, some other things may come up that take priority. So now I'm going to take even more time to deliver this. From the point of view of, say, the customer, we'll say customer for the time being, or the client or whatever, that, if you gave them this original time, it would have blasted past that deadline by the time these other things happen, right? And you would have been entirely delivering it late. Whereas if you're realistic about your scheduling and go, okay, it's going to take this amount of time, then you're going to be delivering. And if, in fact, it's better to deliver before the timing date for them and for you. Most of the time, the timing is not about, the timing for these things is more about planning, knowing, so they know when they can do the next thing or how they can see what amount of work they get done in a period of time, or other lots of, there's more ongoing dominoes that take place. So for them, it's not about knowing that, oh, you can do it in a small amount of time. It's not about the duration. It's about how it fits in with the bigger picture. So just be aware that, of your limitations, basically, and manage expectations correctly.
One last point. I mean, it doesn't really need discussion, but it's an interesting thing to be aware of. Sometimes the clients keep making changes, right? Which is why I charge by the hour. I let them make all the changes they want. You're paying by the hour or whatever. So I had this one where I pretty much wrote the whole app, and then they wanted to change the UI a bit. So then I had to rewrite a bit of it. Oh, but wait, they wanted to change the way the back end works. Once, twice, thrice. Okay, so now we've gone through this a whole bunch of times. Then I get everything done and it's all set up, but wait, they want to do one more small UI change. Then that's fine, except for 3 weeks later, they come and drop an entirely new Figma that looks nothing like the first one in my lap and say, we kind of need this in 10 days. And then when you land that, the project owner comes up and says, why in the world is this taking so long?
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you. Anyway. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All
Anyway.
right. I am going to run. Randall is going to try to jump in. I do believe he is having some lag issues. He's been saying behind the screen, but
it's been a little rough. I downgraded my camera to see if that would help too. But there are times when I'm getting 36-second delays on pings.
Yeah, I was wondering.
That's a tunneling problem.
Is that too long?
Yeah.
What, too long?
36 seconds. Is that too long?
It should be like 20 milliseconds, what it typically is.
How fast could you run there and get back?
Here,
all right, Randall, good luck.
Yeah,
I'm going to go try to get a valid identification so that I can prove who I am.
Yeah.
All right. Take it easy, folks. Have a good one, and I'll catch you next week.
Okay, I guess and I'll take over the question reading role here now. Let's see, did we do this one already?
We went the top one. Where's the wait? Wait.
Well, stop. Okay, you drive. All right. Because I hate it when the scroll looks like it's at the top and it's not actually at the top. That's crazy. Right. See, Firebase initialization takes too long time. Where's the best place to initialize the database? Yesterday. Initialize it way ahead of your app running. It'll be fine.
Too long. I don't know what you're doing to say it takes so long.
Yeah. I've been doing typically, well, to initialize the just to get that instance, so you have Firebase dot instance. I've been doing that by making main async and then doing await initialize, and so
Initialize
that's
app.
happening even before initialize app, even before I do my run app. So this is all happening in that just brief period while you're warming up. The downside of that is that you don't have any widgets ready to play. So you kind of want to do it while you're still warming up so that you can use your error widget logic to throw the error down in your Crashlytics and everything like that. So Simon, I know you have opinions on this. You want to?
No, I was going to say, I mean, most people just don't think about the fact that you can just do make a widget called splash screen, which has a material app in it that does your initialization. When it's finished, it just does a complete replacement of the UI. I could run up again, or there's lots of different ways of doing this, and it just replaces it with the actual UI that you want. Done. There you go. Simple.
It was an amazing day when I found out that run app could be called more than once in an app, and I've been using it all sorts of examples through the years now.
To be honest, the replacing, basically, for those that don't know, run app just places the widget that you give it as the root widget in the hierarchy. That's literally what it does, and then it schedules a frame. But you're saying it's taking way too long. Like, I'm going to say that you could be running into another problem where your Firebase project is set in the wrong region. You might be looking at a region that is like, say, California, which is maybe the furthest away from you. If you're over in India, or I don't know, right? And in which case, it's going to take a long time to initialize and do anything with the database, right? Because just like the ping times that Rand was just talking about, it takes a long time for the data to transmit and receive. Each one of those back and forths is going to take you 300 milliseconds or something from that sort of distance. I'm going to say that, that's the third of a second. Before you know it, you got to do 5 round trips to make a TCP connection. And before you know it, you take 4, 5, 6 seconds to start your app up, because just to initialize the database. So again, look at what you might be doing there. Maybe you've got create a new cloud project and have it initialized to the region that's local to you.
Yeah. It's hard to say. Also, as long as your screen is moving, most people ignore the startup time pretty much now. As long as it's not frozen. I hate it when an app just freezes, but when they have a little animation going on while something's reinstalling, that's fine. Duolingo, I'm looking right at you because you do this really, really long animation every time it starts, and it's like, okay, now I'm tired of that animation. So keep it short.
I will say that there's another aspect to this, which is it caches locally, and you have like an offline cache locally anyway with Firebase. So apart from its initial connection, it shouldn't actually have to download or to do much. So I'm going to say that another thing you might be experiencing is just your initial database initialization, or your initial sort of client load, which will be longer the first time the app is actually installed and run than it would be for in next iterations of the app being loaded. Hopefully that helps.
I think
or if part of it's kicking off something that you needed to return or something, that's a bad design. You can fix that with design, with what you're doing with your architecture. Mm-hmm. That's another way to silently kind of get yourself, is if it's got to go grab information.
So something it's an example I use quite often, and quite a few people have probably heard me say this before, but I'll say it again. Do you know what made Instagram popular when those sort of like photo apps started off? It was because when you took a photo with your phone, as soon as you took the photo, it started uploading it to the servers. And then if you hit cancel, it canceled it. Or if you didn't submit it at the very end, it would delete it from the servers. But it already started uploading, right? So what happened was, most of the other apps, you would take a photo and then you fill out like the tags and the name and your message, and then you hit send. All the other apps would start sending the photo then, and they'd have a progress bar of like the upload. Instagram, all they did was when you took the picture, it started uploading in the background as they were filling out the tags. And as soon as they hit submit, it was magically there immediately.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember those
That
days.
is a perceptional UX issue. as a programmer, you think of that first approach, that sort of linear serialized approach, right? But change that UX a little bit, and the difference is between night and day. Really, from an end user perspective, wow, look how fast Instagram is compared to the others. It's actually no faster. It did same bandwidth, same everything. It's just perceptually faster, right? Like the fact they did these two things at once, right? So yeah. Anyway, I digress. Go on. No, I think we lost Randall.
Oh,
yeah, we lost.
Well,
we
that's
lost
to be expected. Come on back, Randall, in 36 seconds. We'll wait for you.
Right. How to integrate with web. How to integrate another web link to Flutter web.
Well, I see this, and I'm doing it a couple of different ways because I've got one thing where I'm going to do, which
can you actually explain the question to me, because I don't understand it.
Well, how to integrate another web link to Flutter Web, which is kind of so this, to me, it means one of two things. It either means that I can tap the link and go to the page. That's pretty straightforward, or that I can like I've got a not like an iframe or something.
It got up to 54 seconds this time. I tell you.
I was optimistic. I expected you back in 36 seconds.
Oh, yeah, I know, but it's setting new highs and lows.
Sorry, you were saying, Danielle. Let's get through these questions because we haven't started any coding yet.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it can mean something like an iframe, or it can mean just a link, or it actually can mean a web view. I mean, I really don't know either.
I'm going to say, Pradeep, re-ask your question, and then we'll answer it. There you go.
Yeah.
He's already had a couple of next one. How can I create diagonal with dynamic height without passing initial size and allow it to take the height of the child widget? We did this on the stream. So go previous to this. We really need to describe, edit the mess of the videos afterwards. Let me go find my gist, because I think we put it. Do you remember we did the bottom sheet thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
My interface is messed up. I'll try coming right back here.
Sorry, I'm trying to. Do you remember the one I'm talking about with the bottom sheet?
I mean, what does expand equal false? Setting expand to false. Does that kind of do it for it?
No. Honestly, Dragon Ball scrollable sheet is completely just don't even use it.
Okay.
Don't do it. For that's just a reminder. Not just that was me talking to Daniel. That was me talking to everyone. Oh, here you go. Animated partial height sheet. I think that's why. Yeah, I'll pop this in the chat for anyone.
Yeah.
So there's a link at the top there to the video if you want to watch us code it. But that's kind of along the same lines that we're talking about. So the point here is there's actually there's already been feedback to the Flutter team about draggable scrollable sheet. It's always been problematic. The bottom sheet implementations right now have gotten worse, not better. And I end up always just doing my own thing that does what I needed to do for bottom sheets because the implementations just are really, really bad. It's part and parcel of complexes around layout in terms of having layout. A good example of this is things like you want, there's a lot of different behaviors that people want from these things, depending on how it's supposed to work. I'll give you one of imagine you want a bottom sheet to wrap its content, but allow you to scroll up and it will to expand out to fill that new height. So now you've got two opposing constraints. You want it to be as small as it needs to be to wrap the content. But once the user interacts with it, it needs to stretch and fill the content.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do that with any built-in widgets. That's going to be a custom layout right there. That's going to be, I need this particular behavior for what I'm doing. And you can do that. There's ways of doing that. And it's like what we just did with the animate partial height. But
isn't this exactly the problem you were solving over the last 3 or 4 weeks? I think it was.
There was a draggable, scrollable sheet thing that we did. I posted the link in the chat when I think you disappeared.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's when you were running off trying to get to the next relay station.
And I still don't have any access to any of the highlighted comments now. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. So I can't do my job anymore. I can just sit here and comment on things.
Oh, sorry, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
Is it a bad idea or bad practice to wrap dialog route in a custom route and use it in a notifier?
Not in a notifier. Yeah.
Dialog route in a custom page. Sorry.
Yeah.
And use it in a notifier.
Notifier is data layer, not view layer. You're not supposed to be putting anything related to like views inside the data layer. Don't do that.
No, but I think he's basically what he's doing is Johannes, I think I know what the problem is that you've got, and it's one that many people have. It's like you can do anything you want in code, right? Like, so what's happening right now is, let's say you want to display an error to the user, right? Here's the way. I will display an error dialog pop up to the user when something goes bad with my networking in the back end, right?
Yeah.
How do you achieve this? There's a lot of ways to doing this. Now, there's a couple of ways that are wrong, and I'm going to explain them. One is that you give your context to your backend function when you make the API call, and then if the API fails, you can use the context to like do push navigator, show pop up in your network layer, right? And now what you've just done is you've just tied those two layers together intrinsically, and you've now got a long-lived context, which means you link a lot of resources based off of that, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
So don't do that. I see that a lot. The other one is what I think you might be doing, which is you construct your widget of your like error dialog, which might be like a dialog route and a page, and then you're sending that in your state management back to the UI. And when the UI receives the page, it then does navigator of context and puts the page in there, or whatever, and does the go route to push page or whatever the hell it is, right? So the point here is that you've still got the same problem. You're mixing UI with your network code, and you're mixing your network code with your UI. You've got your cross purposes here, right? A better way is to indicate an event has occurred in your backend, whatever way you want. State management, it could be a stream, it could be a notify, it could be whatever you want. But it just says this error occurred, and then you have something on the front end that listens to when those events get as emitted, and then it takes it upon itself to display the UI. So what you're essentially doing is you have a UI that reacts to the state change. Yep. Right now, this is the next thing. I just want to talk about this briefly, and that is, I just said event. So you have app state driven and you have event driven, like state changes. So let's think of a good example of this. So if an error, let's say you get a error occur in a network layer.
He is following up here.
I'll get there in a second, but I want to carry on with this point because I think people will find it interesting. Sure. Let's say you have this error with the UI, and then you retry the networking 3 or 4 times. You don't want to display 3 or 4 dialogues to the user. So that's about you emitting the event at the appropriate place on your back end. Now, an event is a single point data point that's ephemeral. It happens in time, right? So when the event actually goes out, that's when it occurs. Your state actually of your app hasn't changed. What you need to do is integrate that event into your state if you want it to be persistent. So you might have, this would be, there's different ways of handling this and what's appropriate to the way that you want to show it to the user. So for example, let's say the user is displaying an error dialog right now. Let's say your app is in a state, it just failed, and the network displays an error dialog to the user. The user leaves the app, the operating system takes it upon itself to shut the app down. When the user returns to your app, that error dialog is no longer displayed, right? Because the app was shut down. It was ephemeral state. It was just there for the occasion. Now, that might be okay in that state of an error, but let's say that was some other important thing like transaction successful, right? The user gets a phone call. They leave your app because this is the thing you have to remember as a mobile phone app, the user can leave and enter your app at any point for any reason, right? And the operating system can take it by itself to shut your app down. These are very key points. So they get this phone call, and they get this very important phone call, and they forget that they had a transaction going, or they had a bank transaction going, or something else important, right? Their virtual wallet deposit, or whatever the hell you're doing, right? Okay. Then they come back and they go, okay, I'm finished my phone. They shut the phone down after their phone call. They completely forgot about it. And when they come back to your app, they're like, did that money succeed? Did it go through? What happened? Have I got the money? Did it fail? You know, so suddenly you're now into a situation where the back end for the response of that has to successfully store itself in the actual state of the application so that when the app comes back, it can be presented to the user. And these are a case-by-case basis about how your app is needed to work. For the most point, most errors that are emitted as events that are completely ephemeral, they just pop up on the screen telling the user something went wrong. But to be honest, you don't ever want to display an error to the user. You shouldn't be in the situation, like it should be the worst case scenario that you actually get to display the user an error. For example, let's say, give an example here. Let's choose Gmail, right? You're typing an email in the compose section of like an email app, whatever. You hit send. If it fails to send immediately, do you present the user, sorry, couldn't send your email, and they're stuck on that screen and they lose their email unless they get a successful send? That is like the worst UX experience, right? They can't continue reading their email. They can't do anything else. It doesn't go into an outbox, right? Okay, so let's say they're not online when they hit the send button. What do you do? You're offline, can't send. No, it's, again, bad UX. You want to hit that send button, maybe pop up with a message saying, it's going in your outbox, we'll send it when you're online next. Right? And it shows a little like dot or something to indicate there's some stuff that's still pending. That's one way of dealing with it. In fact, a better way of dealing with it is you completely ignore that, because most connection states on a mobile phone nowadays are intermittent, which means your app may detect it's offline for a period of time, but then be online 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later. So you actually get notified from the operating system when the user goes online, and then you can retry your send. And these are ways that you effectively deal with like it's called an offline first application. You need to be thinking about the approach that you take to actually interacting with the user. Most applications are still this kind of online first, just a web page. They read the data. If they're not online, it just completely fails, and they have to be exactly online at that point. And if they're trying to do any interaction that doesn't immediately succeed with the server, it just fails all over the place. It's a really, really bad user experience.
One of the things that you were inspired. Oh, you got to go.
I got to turn into a pumpkin, everybody. Sorry about that.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Stop by.
How many hours away now?
166 now, I think. No, not quite. 166 and a half. Yeah.
Got it. All right. See everybody then. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me follow up with to finish that off. One of the things that's important is observability of both the returned data when it comes in from an asynchronous transaction, plus any errors, the observability of the errors that come in, because you can trigger then changes in your views based on what you observe on both of those kinds of events. And one of the nice things that RiverPod does for you is gives you async value, which is a wrapper around loading, data, and error, so that you can always tell for a given transaction which one of the three states is it actually in. And that's or if you're in the functional programming world, that would be using things like either as a class, which has the left and right sides talking about successes and failures. So failures and successes, sorry, get it in the right order. But so that's something that, the data layer can shift to a error state. But again, it's the responsibility of the view layer to be watching that and then go to your error dialogues and whatever based on information that may be provided as part of that payload. And
an interesting point on that, it's another thing to do, I'd say, application architecture as well, is you load, when your app loads, you load off a disk the previously seen data. Let's say it's a news feed. Let's say it's like Facebook homepage or I don't know, whatever. right? You got like some newsfeed of recent posts. The app loads up immediately. You don't have any delays. It doesn't have to go to the server, and it shows the previously showed data to the user when they were last using the app. That's a completely viable way of showing that, right? Then what happens is it goes off and does something asynchronous. Now, it tries to get the latest newsfeed, and if they're not online, you just show the user an error saying, "Sorry, couldn't get the latest newsfeed." But they're like, "I'm looking at it right now." Like, why? Or even worse, the error takes over the newsfeed, so you completely hide the newsfeed. Now it's gone to an error state, right?
Yeah, I've
or an
seen
empty
that.
state because it couldn't get the news. No, you
I've
persist
seen
the data.
that.
You persist the data. That's the worst thing. You persist the data that you've already got, and then if you have maybe a persistent offline notification to the user, if you have to display an error, you're displaying it as ephemeral as possible. You know, a little notification at the bottom of the screen, or can't get it at this time, or even worse, don't even tell them. Just it's fine. They've got whatever they can pull to refresh and choose to do it manually. And now this is another thing. Now the interaction is that they've manually asked to refresh it, which is a different interaction with your application. Now they expect to see an error message pop up on the screen because they need to know if the action succeeded or didn't succeed. So there's a whole.
Again, that's actually all baked into the state transitions for async value. You can ask async value, if you have an error now, did I have valid data before this? And you can show the valid data while showing the error, which is really interesting. So you can say, okay, here's what we had before, but by the way, when I tried to refresh it, I got this error. You can do that kind of thing because async value is actually multifaceted. Remy did an incredible job to understand those three states and how they relate to each other and how you'd want to use them in asynchronous transactions. And it's really one of the overlooked things that Riverpod brings to you that I don't think anybody else really gets as well.
I think the naming is the one thing I need to I feel like, I need to go look. I still need to go look more at Riverpod, the latest Riverpod version. I think there's a lot. I remember just getting a lot of confusion over like the changing naming of everything, and it was like.
The problem is
anyway.
that it's transition phase, and there's still a lot of old literature out there. You get rid of all the old literature, and you stick right with what riverpod.dev is saying now. By the way, the docs were updated a month ago. So,
what's interesting about this is that a lot of projects, a lot of packages, when this happens, then when they go for like a complete sort of restructuring or renaming of things, they will tend to create a completely new project, even though it's like based off the old code, and then they'll just say, we're no longer pushing updates for this, and then they'll link to like the new thing, right? So that's another thing that actually happens, depending on
Hive ISAR was like that, right?
Yeah, exactly, like that. Yeah, and there's a few other cases where like that like there's a problem in terms of upgrading, or you do it as like a really big major push, and there's really obvious things that you should not be doing this unless you go through our very particular migration steps. It's something I have to say. We're going to take it back to Flutter, back to the question. Sorry, but what Flutter does really well is their break and change management, and everything around it is just phenomenal.
You don't know how lucky you have it. And then you have a project like GoRouter, not to point fingers too strongly at it, but it's version 13 as of like last week? And it was like version 10, 2 months ago?
They're not major changes. They're not using Semver.
But they're breaking changes. They are breaking changes.
Yeah, but there's another thing though that
I know
I'm not seeing any document. I'm not seeing any good documentation around like upgrading the stuff and other things. But anyway, let's move on. Right.
Sorry, let's not point fingers too bad. Well, here's his. Did you get his?
That was the same one. That was the same one. No, sorry, Johannes. Here's
the other half. Here's the other half. I got it.
Rewrite an old one as a head typo. Is it a bad idea to wrap dialogue route in a custom page and use it in a navigator? No. So okay. So let's say you're using a navigator with pages, which is a parameter you can apply to a navigator to make your own stack of pages. Or there's different ways of pushing pages to the thing. But a page is there, believe it or not, for those who don't know, a page is route settings, and it has a function called create route, which returns a route. They can return a dialog route, it doesn't matter. It can return a page route, it's a route. And all that route does is create the widgets and manage the animation for the route. So, in short, if you want to put a navigator with the pages, with a page that has a create route that returns a dialog route, you can do that. I'd honestly go one step further and say, what is the reason for displaying the dialogue? Is it something you can do with a widget? Because again, a lot of people go to this route of don't think about the fact that all a dialogue route is a entry in the overlay, which is a decorated box with like 50% black, and then inside that it's a center with a piece of material that's styled like a dialogue box. That's it. Right? Like it behaves like a dialogue because of the way that you use it, right? So if you wanted to, you could display a dialogue to the user on top of all the content by just making a widget that wraps it, that has a flag, and when that flag is set to true, boom, it adds to the layout. It's a stack. It adds to the layout a dialogue box. There's literally a widget called dialogue and material dialogue that you can fill the whole screen with widget dialogues if you wanted to, and material dialogues or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can even use overlay, you do the whole thing.
You can even use a portal. What was it called the other day? We looked at this. It was
overlay portal. Portal overlay. Yeah. Overlay one of those. Oh, noun. I have no idea which order the nouns are in. I'm not German. Right. I'm sorry.
I'm going to quickly look it up.
I'm German, but yeah.
It was overlay portal. It was overlay portal. There you go.
Overlay portal. There we go. Go. Great.
Right.
Now
what's
it's
next on
stuff.
our list?
You have to pick it up because I don't have any highlights for any of the starred items. I don't have stars. So it's up to you. Display an image which will auto-fit height and width in a box with random, I guess, image sizes. Why is that hard?
Oh, I think we lost her. Oh, Randall, I think we lost you there for a second.
Okay.
You're back. You're back now.
Okay.
So, So display image with an auto-fit height and width in a box.
Isn't that box? Image sizes. Filled box or fit box or whatever.
Exactly. I was going to say there's a fit parameter on an image for exactly that thing. You can choose cover, which will ensure that all points of the outside parent are covered by the image, or contain, which will always ensure that it fits nicely within that.
But proper aspect ratio, though, it maintains the aspect ratio unless you say one of the other 5 block things. Fill.
If you fill, it stretches it.
Yeah. So I don't know what the question is if you don't know about the box fit parameter.
You can also use fitted box.
Fitted box definitely does it. Yeah.
And you can fit any widgets to fit that same pattern of behavior: cover, contain, whatever. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Will you please show some useful tip while writing tests? Ooh, that could be for coding. We could do coding with writing tests.
Writing tips for.
Useful tip: make sure they run.
I'm not sure how we're writing tips for tests. There is one that I always say about tests, and that is use the async, fake async. In fact, I think there's hang on.
Okay, here we go.
Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, this is what you want to look at. Let me bring this up on stream. Hopefully, here we go. The clock package.
Yeah.
The clock patch encapsulates the notion of current time and easy access points to access the current time. So this is very, I know it doesn't look like it here, which is, obviously stopwatch, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at when it comes to tests, this is something that that you want to be able to use. It's fake async is the other package to use during tests. So this allows you to actually experience time, as you can see here, like with timeout and so on. So both these two package.
Yep. Current time, the most hidden dependency, obviously. Yes.
Well, packages actually depend on clock. Cron, YS. I'm sure lots do. Stash.
Is that a cron for like a desktop
yes.
app?
Yeah. No, so this is great. So for those that don't know, this allows you to schedule tasks within your application, especially if you're using server-side applications and you need to run things on a like every 15 minutes whilst your application continues to run for days and days at a time, then this is the perfect way of doing it without involving any operating system, without involving any crazy things. So, yeah.
I chat regularly with Paul Vixie, the creator of VixieCron, which became the sort of authentic, broadly accepted standard version. And on his birthday, I put a cron line that's like star, 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 today's date, echo happy birthday. So it's like, a cron that runs at midnight on his birthday.
So cool. I've seen this guy's packages made for years, right? So this one, this is kind of cool. Look, lexicographically sortable 128-bit UUID with 48-bit timestamp, 80-bit random number, canonically encoded with a 26-character string as opposed to the 36-character UUID. That is actually really helpful. I know this description.
Yeah.
I know this description doesn't match anyone's, but if you want like a really good ID, that is a really good ID. So let me just be clear. You're getting it's lexicographically sortable. So if you put them in an order, they actually have a time-based ordering to them. However, they are definitely random enough with 80 bits of randomness. And they're also using a reasonable character set of strings, not like other weird characters like 36 character strings. So this just uses alphanumeric rather than funny characters.
I was puzzling the other day about how like meet.google.com generates this sort of 10-character alpha sequence. And I thought, well, don't they care if it gets reused? And then I calculated out 26 to the 10th is all the atoms in the universe are, so it's not bad. We can probably avoid collisions with that.
Yeah, look, executor. That's another.
But that would be nice. Yeah,
it's like I guess it's like a Java executor kind of stuff. Buffer.
Yeah.
Bytes and streams effectively. Bit array. All these lovely shutdown I've used many, many times.
We could do a whole show just walking through the pub entries for some of our favorite authors. I'm sure there's like a bunch like that. Lucas Rangley has been doing some great stuff. He's the one that did Petit Parser and the XML modules, result of that. Mm-hmm. And he's got about 10 that he's been updating recently. The one I just saw that I want to play with is Dart RX, which was based on the original RX pub package, but he's taken it again to the crazy degrees in all sorts of different directions. And I'm trying to understand. I actually want to play with this version of RX. It actually looks like it's fun and complete, and unfortunately underdocumented as a lot of his stuff is.
Which one is this?
Dart-RX. This is Lucas Ringley's version thing.
Okay, because we run the community run the RX Dart package. So it might be good for him to like put that stuff into there. So
right, yeah. He's got a lot of features in there, pluggable schedulers, pluggable all sorts of merges and splits and replayables and all sorts of really interesting combinations of things. I was just walking through the examples late last night instead of sleeping, so I can't tell you a lot about it except that
this one. 32 days ago, RX.
No, Dart RX.
Well, that's under his thing. Dart RX.
Yeah, Dart-RX. Nope, not RX Dart. It's Dart-RX. Oh, maybe it was just RX. Maybe it is just RX. Okay, maybe
RX because that's under his. This package
Dart-RX. Yeah. Okay, that's it then. Yeah, RX. Right.
Oh, his repo's probably called. Yeah, his repo's called.
Repo's called Dart-RX. Yeah, that was the problem. Okay.
Yeah. No. So it's interesting actually, like because I was going to say like Petit Parser. For those that don't,
it's amazing.
If you need to do any sort of there's reasons where you might to add scripting to your application or scripting in general. You want to go look at Petit Parser for that, right? So if you want to like take a I'm trying to see how it I mean I don't know if he has an example in here.
This is a parser generator that can deal with peg grammars. It can deal with all the way up from the lexical analysis all the way through to the parsing, and it can be subclassed to be able to generate transformation rules. It's really a do everything universal, and it does it very efficiently. This stuff is really, really well done. It was the core language that the XML parser was written in Dart for many years. I think it still is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, I was going to say, look, Dart contains experimental Dart grammar, JSON, Lisp, Prolog, Smalltalk, a complete Smalltalk grammar. But equally, furthermore, open source projects, the Apollo VM, a simple VM that can pass, run, and generate basic Dart and Java 8 code.
Yeah. Equations is handy. I've used equations.
Expressions I've used. PEM as well. Query and XML. So anyway, really helpful if you're in that situation where you need to essentially lexicographically pass something. Petite parser is the package that you want to use.
Right, absolutely.
He's got one called State Machine as well, which I'm assuming he uses in that, but I've not actually tried this. That sounds sounds interesting.
Anyway, downloading it. Yeah. Anyway, let's get
back to the questions.
We got questions still, and we still want to do some coding. What would be new changes to Flutter this year? Full Flutter implementation, full impeller implementation? Yeah, probably. New 3D stuff? Yeah. To this. That's yes. Move on. Yes.
We think so. But just to be clear, we wear Flutter t-shirts, but we're community members. We don't work for the Flutter team.
Yes, we wear worn-out Flutter T-shirts that hope to can be replaced sometime soon. Yes, right.
Did anyone? I've had this Flutter T-shirt. I think I've got like 9 of these or something.
I have just one.
And I've got them over the years, obviously, from different events and everything. But this set, the ones I've got with this logo on like this, I've had these for 5 years. Can you believe that now? I got one in the very first. I think it must have been the very first year or so of Flutter. So it would have been during Flutter Live or something. Maybe 4 years. Did anyone
the only conference I've ever been to was the GDE summit I went to right after I became a GDE. That's the only Google event I've ever been to other than local GDG meetups. So
soon, Randall. Soon.
Soon, when the hip gets better, I'm running. I'm running around. All right.
You'd be running through those airports to catch those planes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Did anyone use Azure functions as back end to Flutter front end? Feels more like not a good fit, especially for push notifications. API. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Laser, or Lazar. Sorry, I don't know how you pronounce your name. I've been using over the years now. Yeah, I've used a variety of cloud-based solutions for backends for applications. For me personally, from my experiences, having AWS Lambda or Cloud Functions or any of those kind of function level systems don't work that well. They don't get me wrong, they scale, but they also make lots of money for the cloud providers. And a lot of the time, you can get away with a lot less and a lot less complexity by just having one node that scales, that has all your API functions in it, that can interact with in other interesting ways. That makes things a lot simpler. I don't know enough about Azure though to really comment on this particular use case you're saying here. But when it comes to API level security and various other things, the cloud providers expect, again, here's the thing. Let me explain the big problem that they have in this area, okay? And that is they want developers to onboard and use their services as quickly as possible and easy as possible, right? So the barrier to entry is low, right? Mm-hmm. The problem with doing that is the end of that is still not suitable. It's the same as when you get a code example, you just run it and you go, oh wow, it just worked. It's an example though, right? It's not meant to be used as production-ready code. I think we lost Randall. However, my point here is it's not production-ready code. So, you go stick that in your application, you're not going to get the expectation of security or error, as we just said earlier, error management and all these other things that you need to do to really make a good product. So taking a step back, for example, your API security point of view, the expectation would be that you don't expose those cloud functions directly to the internet. And instead, what you might do is put them behind an API gateway, which gives you layers of security, various other things, tracking of requests. and other things, but then that costs you more. So, oh, have we got Randall? Is he back?
It's spotty. It's going in and out. I don't know how to control that. I heard you the entire time, but I probably froze.
I don't have to repeat myself. So that's handy. So my point here is they want to sell you a product and they want to sell it to you as quickly as possible and get you onboarded, which means barrier to entry is really low. However, what you build out of that low barrier to entry is not really production ready. And if it is, like there's others, I won't go into like the details of all this, right? And even if you do want to rely on that, you're relying on their service alone and their and only the options that are configurable to you on that service. So I think I you know, the end of the day is I felt that you know you got this. In fact, I'm gonna share something with the stream here. I don't always share stuff with the stream, but I'm gonna share something I put together. So a long time ago, I saw an interesting diagram, and then I came up with my own take on it. Hopefully this comes up. Bear with me. If I can find it. See if I can share this on the stream. 1 second. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this big enough, but we'll try. How's this? Good. Is that too small to reach, I think?
Oh, you made that. I watched you make that. That was cool.
Oh, right. There you go. When was this? I can't. I don't know.
About a year ago, year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yep.
Sorry. Hopefully, let me see if I can get a bit wider here to better take the space. There we go.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. So
enhance.
Let me hide the question here.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, this is what most cloud providers are like. So you can see here on the right hand side, you have agility, how fast you can move, how easy you can move, and on the left you have configurable. More configurable you get. This is the line that you have to cross, right? Now, as you see under here, the legend, what's managed by your cloud provider, what's managed by the customer, that is yourself of the cloud provider, and what's multi-mixed between the two. Okay. So these are the terminologies that you normally see, right? So you've got software as a service, function as a service, platform as a service, container as a service, infrastructure as a service, and on-premises, right? So as you can see, we'll go from left to right here. So on-premises aspect, you own the networking equipment, you own the storage, you own the server, you own the virtualization technology, you own the entire stack. That is all of your responsibility. That is a big burden. It's what we used to do in the 90s. It is not fun, and it takes a lot more manpower. And also, there's bound to be problems. If you've got people that don't understand storage that well, but can do runtime really well, there's your storage is going to suffer, right? So breaking up their responsibilities is a lot nicer. So this is where we go infrastructure. So we go, okay, I don't want to have to deal with the network and storage and servers and virtualization. I just want to run my own operating system with my own stack on top of that. So I'm going to run my own OS. It's going to have its own container, runtime, application, and data management all on top of that. Great. Again, though, do I want to maintain the server? Do I want to pay for a license for an operating system? Do I want to maintain all the updates for that? Right? That's a question. Now, that you might have to do this because you might, for example, a system where you might need infrastructure service. Let's say you did, let's say you had, I don't know, a dial-up modem service. I know you're doing fax as a service or something horrible. I don't know. Now that might mean you need a piece of that might mean you need a piece of hardware which has a bunch of like fax cards plugged into USB fax devices or some other random thing, and you're going to need operating system level access to be able to like command those USB devices to do something inside a data center. Well, that's infrastructure as a service. This is what you're doing. This is infrastructure or on-prem. You're somewhere in this region, right? Okay, we're going to up the stack, right? So container as a service, right? This is, as you can see. You don't own the operating system. That's the cloud. That's the provider's job. You don't own the container technology. That's the provider's job. So you don't own Docker. You don't own like VMware or whatever it might be running on top of. But you get to declare your runtime, what runs inside your container, and you get to do your own application and your own data. That is container as a service. Finally, you got platform as a service. So that is when you've been provided the entire runtime ready to go, and then you use that runtime's application programming interface, right? So you've been given a platform as a service, and you make your stuff be on top of their APIs, and that is your application and data, and that's it alone. Finally, function as a service. This is what you're talking about. This is like Azure Functions. This is Google Cloud Functions. This is AWS Lambda. And as you can see here, you own the data.
Cloudflare
Yeah.
too.
And you don't own anything underneath. But what you do, if you break application down into its component pieces, again, you don't handle error handling on the cloud side. That's what the cloud provider does. Capacity planning, you don't have to do that. Parallelization, scalability, you don't have to do that. However, the business logic, functionality, and data is all your responsibility. So this is minimum amount of responsibility you get to build on top of. Now, obviously, software as a service is probably what you're building. This is your entire stack, and you just have end users using your application. Okay. So a lot of people will choose to use function as a service. Platform as a service depends on that another provider giving you the entire runtime. Again, that depends on what you're building. Probably not that. So the next one down is container as a service. This is what I recommend over and above most of this, and that gives you the more flexibility, more configuration over and above what the runtime does. Now, a lot of the container-based platform technologies, those container technology here, like Cloud Run from Google, will give you scalability, parallelization, capacity planning, error management, and various other things and APIs to work with. So, I'll give you platform as a service. A good example of platform as a service is App Engine, Google App Engine. That's a platform as a service. Anyway, so back to this. The point here is you can make a Docker container that runs Dart and just runs your application and your data. That's it. That is your container as a service. You run that on a cloud provider, you put your API gateway in front, and you've got yourself a really good application in terms of back-end service. Does that help anyone? Hopefully it helps people. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you put a link to that somewhere, right?
I will maybe do that.
You had it before. We posted it a year and a half ago.
I don't know where it is. I have to go upload it somewhere.
Oh yeah, okay. It's
I can rewind the stream. Get a time code. There you go.
Yeah,
right.
Go watch back.
So
Maybe
yeah.
Kristen
So coming
knows.
back to your point. Yeah. At the end of the day, is it's easier to debug stuff like with a container like that. So you build your application locally. You can just run your Dart code on your local machine with hot reload. You can build your thing to call the push APIs. You can debug it really easily, and then you can just ship in a Dart container on the server side, and you're done. Yeah, you can obviously add your logging and whatever else, but for the most purposes, you're done. If it comes to doing things like using Azure function, I'll give an example using Cloud Functions. I'm going to go write TypeScript. How do I debug that TypeScript? It's going to convert to JavaScript. Okay, my error's in JavaScript. I'm going to have to figure out where they are in my TypeScript code. I'm going to have to figure out how am I doing logging. I can't run this locally, for whatever reason. I have to use some emulated environment. That's not really doing the thing I want it to do, or easy to debug with. It's a compromise, right? Sometimes I feel like it can be simpler, but yet more complicated, right? Like these cloud functions, the barrier to entry is really low. You can just press types and code, press go, and it runs. But when you actually want to use it, it's a lot more difficult than it actually needs to be. All right. That's my rant. I'm over with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
right.
we spent 12 minutes more on that than we might have needed to, but okay, that's fine. That was good stuff, though. Good information. Okay. Here's Pradeep and one of the 4 times that he asked this question. How to solve iframe scrolling issues in Flutter Web on embedded YouTube video scrolling is not possible. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
People want to use web views all the time. Why do you people want to use web views all the time?
I know what his problem. I think I know what his problem is.
Okay.
I think I know what his problem is.
Oh, and Flutter Web. Oh, not a web view, but an iframe in web view.
Yeah, well, iframe web view, same difference when it comes to the web. Hang on. Let's find a sec here. Give me 1 second.
Google.
So if I remember rightly, the platform Damn. I've forgotten the name of the widget. Well, in fact, actually, no. Do you know what? If we go to pub.dev and look up WebView,
yeah,
I'll do it from WebView here because I can look from top down. Yeah. Because you will see on WebView, they may have changed this. So because I know this has gone through a couple of different changes. Gesture recognizes. See this? This allows you to pass in gestures that you want the underlying platform widget to steal. So from Flutter, and that's why you're not getting scrolling one. I suspect you need to add in here your vertical scroll gesture or whatever, and it will steal it from the platform. I may be thinking the wrong way around now. Actually, saying that.
I'm sure there's documentation somewhere.
Yeah, and anyway, under the hood, this just pass it over to the base platform widget. I don't know how you're doing iframes though. So you know, it depends. There's a lot depending on how you're doing that, and also, I would. What do you want to embed a YouTube video for? Scroll. Maybe I'm missing something here. Yeah, have fun with that. Sorry. I mean,
come back next week and ask it again.
Yeah.
Ask it earlier and only once, please. Okay. What do you think about approach with theme extensions? Every widget has its own theme extension, and where it gets all the stuff: decoration, textile, text theme, edge insets, alignment. Well,
I'll be back in just one moment.
Okay. All right. Well, Simon's gone. I'm sure I'm going to be freezing in the channel once or twice. So let me see if I can take a whack at it. What do you think about approaching with theme extensions? Every widget has its own theme extension from where it got all its stuff. I don't quite understand that. Vladislav, if you're still there, can you ask a bit more about what you mean here? I mean, I understand themes. I understand that a lot of the widgets specifically have their own part of that theme. There's things for like what a button style is, and there are things for like what a text field is. So I'm a little confused about whether this means if you make your own custom widget, would you have a custom theme extension for just that widget? I think likely not. I think you'll want to have a theme extension for your application that includes everything that you might want to be using in terms of these little extension pieces, so that it can glom onto the main theme and drop it down. Yeah, I don't know. I think we need more questions.
What was this? What you need to approach about theme extensions? Every widget has its own theme extension. I mean, yes, you can do that if you want to.
Yeah. I'm thinking that in the main theme, though, there's like button parts, and there's. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry,
this particular example here. When are you ever going to want to theme override these basic things? So I'll give you an example. Whenever you use an alignment, when do you want to theme override that and have a default alignment for every alignment widget? Never. Whenever you put an alignment widget in, you're giving it an alignment. Same for, I mean, where you use an alignment color or edge inset in something, these are your properties you're talking about. Well, that's just a theme extension. You just put a theme extension and put whatever alignment, color, whatever fields you want in your theme extension. So I'm trying to understand what do you think about approach with themes. Every widget has its own theme extension. Again, if you want, you say every widget. Now, I think I understand what you're talking about here. You mean like every widget you're making for your app. Let's say you have a home page, and you want to have a home page theme extension that contains all the properties for your home page theme. You can do that if you want to.
Well, Frey has a comment here that I think might apply.
Yeah. It does no.
No.
No. So okay. So here's the complexity behind this. A theme extension was made part of the took this couple of things actually. Hang on, let me try and explain this in simple words. Okay. So first of all, you can put a theme widget anywhere in your hierarchy, and you can override the extensions for just some subtree of your hierarchy, right? So that's not the first point of this is not a problem, right? The whole idea is they have to have the same scope as the theme. They do, but technically you can just put that at any point in the widget tree, so it has zero impact. So forget about that point. The second point here is they don't have to use else don't use the mechanism of theme extensions. Yeah, again, so let's just take this off. Let's go back to what we have for a second. Sorry. The point I'm trying to make here is that theme extensions do a couple of practical things. One is that they do the lerping or the transition between applications of the theme. So if you want to change your theme whilst the application is running, and you're not just using theme extensions to assign properties down your tree within your app, then that's a bonus right there, because it will do that. You configure your theme extension, and then whenever the person chooses to change their theme and it changes, it will nicely animate from one color to the other, or from one, like let's say you had square borders to round borders. It will just do this kind of like changing for you of the borders. That's the kind of feature of theme extensions. Otherwise, and the only reason why they're put inside the framework is the framework doesn't have a nice mechanism to go get these parameters custom yourself. Like that's why theme extension was added. So you get the ability of everything that the theme brings, but with whatever you want, whatever the properties you want to add. That's exactly meant for this use case. But take it back. You can so do it as use Riverpod, use a provider, use whatever you want, use an inherited widget to just provide a class that has all your parameters down the tree. Ta-da! You've just done your theme parameters, and you can go override them at the top layer of your application, and all your widgets, all that instance of your widget that those parameters apply to, will just immediately change.
Yeah.
You just done exactly what would happen is if you change some data in your backend and it rebuilt all your widgets. There's zero difference. So the theme extensions is just there so that you can use the current theme system and extend it, so you can mix and match the two things and work better with the system. But overall, if you just want to have some parameters provide your own widgets, you don't need to make a theme extension for each one, not unless you want to take advantage of, again, the switching, the lerping between the themes. Even then, you can do that yourself. So
Okay. Next.
I hope that helps. Oh, it was a continuation of the previous one, which was blah blah blah. We didn't even see this. So sorry, apologies if we jumped in. Mostly, all that could be lerped. There you go. So carry on with that. Mostly, all that can be lerped is a little bit boilerplate and verbose, but this approach has some pluses. What do you think? Well, I think I just gave my opinion. I don't think we need to add anything to it. On that point, yes, exactly. It has something. I think your initial value of saying, okay, let's have a theme extension for each widget. Again, it's about scope of widget, right? Like if you did that for every custom widget, you're just going to have a bunch of theme extensions that don't change for the lifetime of your application. So it's that old adage of early optimization. The root of all evil.
You aren't going to need this.
So it's this point of don't load yourself up front with lots of boilerplate, lots of things to do if it's never going to do anything for you, right? So an example of this is, for example, theming. Most applications can get away with having a class called app theme that has a bunch of static fields that provides all of the stuff for the entire application because it never changes.
Dark and light, though. Got to have dark and light.
Well, dark and light then, right? And then you have a provider or whatever at the top level of your hierarchy that provides a dark and light theme.
Yeah.
And when you say that, you go, oh, that's just a theme with different theme extension of a dark and light theme extension with a different set of parameters.
Yeah.
So you've got one theme extension for your entire app called My App Theme Extension or whatever, right?
Right.
So, and for the most part, that's going to happen as soon as you guys start going, oh, I want different portions of my app, the same widget, different portions of my app to have different themes. Now you go, oh, I'm going to, but this is the point where you go, now I need separate theme extensions. So I'm going to separate those properties off from the main theme extension into their own one, and then I can override that at different hierarchies of my application using the theme widget. Ta-da! Done. So it's do what you need to do, refactor where you must refactor, but don't just load yourself up with a bunch of work to be done.
I wonder if this isn't partially driven by either people like me who are horrible at design, trying to do my own design and then getting it horribly bad because I'm designing different things different ways in different parts of the app, or because some other fancy designer has decided that dialog boxes in this portion of the app should look a particular way and over here it should look a different way. I don't know what drives this question so much, but either way is bad.
I'm gonna counter that with some interesting points. Most of the time, just like in development, you might be working on one bit of app and then you continue working on other things and improve as you go. The same happens with designs and design systems with designers. So if you're working on a larger project with a designer, you're going to be looking at maybe some designs that have not been updated to the latest thing. So when it comes to design, especially like an example of this, let's say they drag something around the screen and then a margin became 15 instead of 16. Right, you look at that inside of Figma, you go, oh, it says 15. I'm going to plug 15 into the app. For this one use case, I'm going to put 15 instead of 16. If you went back to the designer, they'll probably go, I meant 16, sorry. Right? And you correct it. Or you take it upon yourself and go, they meant 16, and you put 16 in there, right? And then therefore you keep your program easier, not just one edge case for this one screen. That makes zero difference. And that's all about like making a design system. So you're having a system and then you work with a designer on that design system. And you go, oh, if you're going to want to change that in that one place, that's going to change it everywhere for everything. And you make these points clear. So there's ways of working in terms of design. And again, if you get some designs that are like different and different font sizes and things, don't think you have to make it exactly spot on what you see on the screen. Most people aren't going to see any difference. I'll give an example. This is on different screen sizes. You probably want to maybe tweak it so that it scales differently, or the margins are larger on a tablet, and these are things that may not have been in the original designs, but as a developer, to make something responsive, you're expected to do that. So there's different ways of handling that situation. You go back to the make sure you explain to the management, whatever it is, or the product owner or the client, that you didn't think of all these things. Do you want me to put this in there? And if so, it's going to take this amount of time more, right? And when they go no, then then you make sure that it doesn't, there's no tablet, based interface, and it doesn't work because, it just displays as a phone on a tablet or whatever because you're just not ready for a tablet, right? And then when they come back and go, oh, we want tablet, we go, okay, we'll add tablet then. And then we go through the process of adding tablet, right? There's so many different ways of handling this and just try and squeeze everything and say yes. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I've ranted long enough.
Next.
That's it. I think that's it.
That was it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all the questions.
Oh, yay. Then we can do live coding. Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully people got some interest out of all that ranting.
Yeah, I hope so.
And it was helpful to someone because
I learned a few things.
After doing this for many, many years, you learn a few things. And it's you don't want anyone else to go through the troubles and trials and tribulations that you had to go through to get to like the same place.
Sometimes you do.
Sometimes
you learn this the hard way.
But sometimes there's things you can't teach, you have to learn.
Yeah.
I can't think of a particular use case in my head, but I know that for several times there's always been this thing like, just you have to go do it. I can't tell you how to do it. You have to go do it.
There are times when it's there are times when it's easy to get distracted by shiny objects as you're heading down a path, and you go, "Oh, this is the saving way to do this. This is the saving throw, which is to go this direction." And then you get down that path a ways, and you end up having to redo 3/4 of what you did. And like I tell people that with my, 4.5 decade career now, I have the scars to show for all the time.
Oh, we lost him.
people.
Most inopportune moment we lose you, Randall.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
of
sure he can
course.
still. Oh, hang on. He's coming back, is he? No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, you missed my good
You're back.
lecture. You missed my lecture, unless it all came in at once.
No. You say again. Can't you? Said something about time, and then that was it.
So I, over my career, I've had a lot of time, and I've done a lot of things wrong. I have the scars to show for it from my 45-year career, and I'd like to be able to share those. If people ask me about any of those specific ones, that's good. But it's I can't give you like the entire knowledge at once. It's some of it you have to kind of earn and learn, you know, to be able to be your own gospel as you move forward.
It's also like for someone to understand, like, and this is the sad thing is, well, sad's the wrong word, but this is the thing, like to explain a concept to someone, we talk about in these words and meanings, like we say instantiation, that, you know, anyone else would be like, what are you talking about? You know, like if you don't know anything about programming, you'd be like, what's instantiation, right? So I think that there's terminology that we use and the ways that we talk about things that would go over a lot of people's heads, and it's a shame, but that comes from like experience. Like, it's about talking about, like, same reason we talked about patterns, right? Like you talk about like a programming pattern, and it's this notion of you're discussing something because it's too difficult to every single time you want to talk about something to explain how this whole thing works together. You just say the pattern name, and then people would have to go away and learn what that is to understand the context and meaning of that conversation, right?
Every engineering has a jargon, and so this is the jargon of programming that we're all exchanging in, and it's because each one of these is a macro essentially that expands to an entire meaning that we have collectively earned. But the other side of that is, I like to keep saying, programming is both a engineering and an art, is that there are some things you can't really teach. When people sometimes ask questions that to me sound like, I want to be able to paint by numbers, give me the numbers. And I can't, because it's more of a, like when people say, well, what's the architecture for Flutter? What is the exact design? Is MVVM what I should be using, or MVC? I go, no. Just understand the principles. A model has to be over here. A view has to be over here. And I'm getting skipped out. I know I'm talking.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But I think we got through. It's more about like the what's the word? The sort of the overall programming, learning of how to program, not necessarily the particular thing about Flutter. Oh, to lose him. I think I lost him. Right. Well, whilst he's doing his best ice impression, we're going to move on. Hopefully, people enjoy the chat. And what I'm going to do here, we're going to share screens. What are people interested in seeing in terms of programming? I was thinking we could continue the game development project because it's here, it's now, it makes sense. Everyone happy with that? Oh, we got George. Hey, George. Yeah, that's another point. So George making the point here that the architecture of a Flutter of Flutter or your Flutter app depends upon the size of the team and the scale of the project. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Nice. Right. Oh, man. Well, let's see. What was the highest number here? I was up to 44 seconds. So I had a 44-second delay again. Oh.
All right. Let's just crack on with the game. So where do we left it before?
Yeah.
I think we were trying to do some fireworky kind of things. And
I got to bail at the top of the hour anyway. So I'll keep with you off and on until I get off and on, and then I have to get off.
Yeah. I think we're both on board with that. I still have things I need to do.
Cool.
So we did start doing some particle effects. I'm actually thinking about doing some scrolling. I figured some scrolling might be nice, but yeah. So they started doing this kind of like very slow. Can you see that?
Scrolling. Get the game of scrolling.
Oh,
get it.
Yeah.
Scrolling.
So I saw this. We're we get an error from the gamepad because I haven't got it connected right now. So I actually for those that are interested, this has been developed on Windows. It is the Windows API for the gamepad. So if you try and check this out, it probably won't work immediately unless you're on Windows, which not everyone is. I was working on a patch just to extract out the Windows stuff, just so that you can all start playing around with it without being on Windows. But if you want to download this and actually play around with it, I will push the repo into the channel. Here is the repo link, and I think we'll just carry on with our development here. And we're going to leave the clicky fireworks. I'm gonna come back to that and actually do a proper job of that, because I'm going to do like a nice streaking thing and like leaving a streak behind the firework and all this kind of stuff. But we don't have time for that right now. So I think scrolling is a nice middle case. Are you there, Randall? Okay,
I'm here.
I thought you froze for a second. So
no, I just didn't move. Occasionally, I don't move too.
Occasionally, don't move. Are you sure about that? Are you sure
well, parts of me are moving. I'm pretty sure my heart's still pumping, but I may not physically like take a position that changes. I know. I'll just keep moving around like this all the time. I'll be dancing with Dash.
No, because that'll make your bandwidth less. It's compression. Right. All right. So we this is our little editor. It's called Tiled. It's an open source tile-based editor for whatever game you want. It doesn't have to be. You can actually make a Wolfenstein 3D game, believe it or not, with this system. That'll blow your mind. But anyway, so you can do like these different layers, and then you can export this data as JSON. You can add custom properties. I won't go into this kind of app itself and how you use it, but what we will do is, if you want this to scroll, we're going to need bigger than the play screen. So at the moment, this is entirely the size of the play field, as you can see here on the top left, and that's what we render. We do scale that. We could make it so that when if it's widescreen, it shows more. That's a separate problem right now. We don't actually have more to show. So what do we want to do? I think should we quadruple the size and make it sort of 2 wide, 2 high? Is that a good practical idea? I don't know. Let's find out. So we're on level 1. How do we change the size of this? I have no idea.
I don't
know.
Tile
width. Map properties. So I see an X, I see a Y. Output chunk width. No.
Oh, you're trying to stretch.
10. Oh, there you are. Oh, no. It says 10 by 8 there on the map, but it's fixed. Can we not increase it after the fact? That just seems weird to me.
It's not fixed. It's broken. Yeah. Canvas size is what it would be called in something like Photoshop.
No, it says here width and height, but it's grayed out.
Right.
Maybe there's a map. Resize map. Here we go.
Aha. Oh, it's a profit deal. All right. Look at that. You can just grow, baby, grow.
This makes sense. So now look, we can increase the play field size to be 2 times width and height. There we go. And
yeah.
All right. So now we need to
draw some more.
Now we can fill up. So how do we select and copy? So we got stamp, magic wand. Oh yeah. So there's actually like a terrain tool, which I found out. I haven't set it up, but you could set it up to use different tiles for the edge, and you could just draw, and it will adjust the tiles appropriately. It's quite cool.
Oh, nice.
But I haven't configured it in here yet, so I'm not going to try it right now. But there's some interesting rectangular select. So if I select these,
hey, we have a guest.
Oh, look, welcome,
hey.
John. Are you coming to tell us how to use this app? Because
how to use Tiled? Right, it's been a long time.
I can tell you right now, I'm definitely rusty. So okay, we're going to select this tile, and then we're just going to like draw. Oh, that would be why it's on the wrong layer, I guess.
Oh no,
no, That's just hiding and showing, right?
Yeah, but I was trying to work out what layer I'm drawing on to make sure I'm drawing on the right. So it's that layer I want to be drawing on. So I just select that out. I'm going to lock the other ones and show them all. So in theory, I should just be able to click and drag, but it's not. And I don't know what I've done.
Did you pay enough for your free software?
Right. Eraser, shape, fill, bucket, terrain.
Maybe your license was only good for 2023.
Well, that's the stamp brush, right?
Yeah, but that's how you do it. You stamp.
Okay,
What?
that's too much fun. What is it?
Is it because you know what it is? Is it because the
What?
layer is now smaller and I have to do resize layer or something?
Shouldn't. It looks
Well,
like
let me click here. No, I can't click anywhere.
Oh. Yeah, I think your license expired in 2024. Yeah.
So you want to grab the grass tile there and copy it and paste it down in the other ones?
Yeah, basically. But I mean,
what's the second, the one next to the one you picked?
That's terrain brush, and that's if you have I started trying to do a terrain thing, and you can like drag and build terrain.
Got it. Okay.
But the stamp brush is literally this: you pick your tile and you pick where you want it to go, and that's it. It's done.
Maybe
it was working before. I saw you do this. Last year.
Layers.
I can do shift to draw a line. That's kind of cool. I didn't know I could do that.
Oh,
space. No. No. Right click. No.
Double click. Clicking. Double clicking.
Okay, hang on. I think I know what's going on.
Deleting emails. Replying to emails.
Hang on. Select none. I think it was just editing the selection, and because I wasn't clicking the selection, it wasn't doing it.
Oh.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
Oh, now you got them. Now you got grass.
Let's do
layers and layers.
Let's break this down into something like this. What do we want? Do we have some ladders in there? Look, we got spring. Let's add a spring.
This is Tyler, right? Tiler. Tyler.
TILED.
Tiled, or whatever, right? Yes, I was making an IT crowd reference. Yes, thank you, Frey. Definitely.
Actually, we're gonna add another layer in here. Yeah, tile layout. We'll call this. I don't know actually how we. Let's do springs. Let's call it springs. I'm gonna nuke these from this layer.
Love working with computers.
What
you and your computers?
I'm gonna lock you behind the red door.
Yeah. Oh, not the red door.
Okay. I kind of want to know how they're expecting to use these tiles together, but. Okay.
Well,
so
you should be able to do an animation with the fire one, right?
Yeah. Hang on. Let me unlock that.
Yeah, that's a fire
on top. Maybe even got some like enemy dude or something there. Got a chest. This is kind of annoying because look, it's a lot. The boundary alignments on this don't, Yeah,
you can't put it.
I think it's more about the way that the source has been made, right? Like, you do that 2 tiles in it. Like this has been put in the right position. So.
Oh yeah, like it put it in the middle of the tile instead of at the bottom.
Oh look, it can do like a firing arrow thing that comes across the screen. Let's do that. That sounds cool. Right. That one. Oops. I'm on the wrong layer. Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yes.
All that work and it's on the wrong layer.
These are fine. This is correct. But this
erase.
Oh, I did put the springs back in. Oh.
It's a good thing you're not paying by the minute for tiled.
Indeed. If you were to put that there, yes, it just looks off. I don't know. Need to. Right, what else can we put on here? Yeah, let's. I guess we can make it thick. Is anyone learning? Because I hope so.
It's a dead end. That's not very fun. I guess if you want to go up in there and then get stuck.
What is going on? Oh no, I've done it again.
Needs a big layer 2 or layer 1 at the top of the screen.
What I'm going to do is take all of the. Okay, apparently I'm doing it now. Hang on.
Oh.
Shape tool. Oh, it's a shape fill tool. Where's the selection tool? Rectangle selection. That's what I want. Take that, cut it. Ha ha ha.
Oh, that's.
Delete this and do paste.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that was clever.
Layer 2 again. That's fine. This wall, however, you cut that one.
Control Z. All right. Just undo until it all gets it back right.
Right.
He wants to save the work. He just wants to save the work in a different place.
How? Okay, so springs, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the wrong way. Right. So lock these, present these, layer 1, unlocked, can't make a mistake, go in the right place, moving on. Right. Back to stamping. Are we learning? Can I pre-order this game? You can pre-order wherever you want. Right.
Send money to PayPal at no.
Yeah.
PayPal at simonlightfoot.com. No, don't do that. That's probably not him.
Right. Okay. And then let's grab. I wonder if we can do. I'm trying to say. Let's grab this.
A tree.
And
a big tree in the top.
Layer 2.
Oh, it don't fit.
Oh, I'll make it fit. That actually will fit like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right?
But can you run through the tree, or is it an obstacle?
It's on a different layer.
Yeah,
we did it on a different layer on purpose. Right. So we have some crates, and we'll put that on. Locked layer. Yeah, no. I don't know. See.
Do the small crate. Oh, it's the same. It's one tile. Got it.
So,
oh, maybe they were smaller ones.
I just want something different.
Crates are good.
That'll do. And then we could actually, if we go to layer 1, a background layer, go to the background layer, and now maybe put this in.
Ooh, I've got a double Randall.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to end up twice. The other one's dead. That one's dead.
That was nice that it goes behind on that one.
Yeah, because I've got the two different layers.
Oh, because he put it in the background there. Yeah.
I don't know. That'll do, I guess. And then if I grab where those clouds go, I'm down here, right? Okay. Let's grab a couple more of these.
Looked at clouds from both sides now. On layer 2 and layer 1. I go behind them sometimes, then I go in front. I really don't know clouds at all. There we go. Now we got my copyright drop for the day. You got to get your strike now.
That's it.
Randall did the cloud song.
I don't know.
I got to drop in about 20 minutes anyway. So whether the network cooperates or not really doesn't matter a lot at this point.
Wrong layer. Put the right layer. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, I should probably say my goodbyes before, just in case I get dropped. I'll definitely be back next week, and as usual, thanks for inviting me on the show once again. And hopefully, I made some contributing comments.
Anytime.
Yep. And I'm going to plug my Dart and Flutter channel. I got 1,000 downloads on my most recent video in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. People are paying attention. That's really nice. Thank you guys for subscribing and sharing.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Properties as list question mark Dart.
Question mark.
And that's me. So we added some extra things into the. Okay, so now we have it displaying the map, but it's from the top left. So that's what that looks like, right? Because we're scaling it and it's painting outside of bounds right now.
Ooh.
Which is fine. Interesting enough, the black, see the black is not being rendered. That's because we render the we take the rectangle of the layer and render the area of the screen, which is actually correct because you won't be seeing this. So what's happening right now for those that are just kind of tuning in is that we're trying to do scrolling, and now we've made a map that's larger. We need it to obviously not paint outside the bounds, and we need to make it scroll. So, okay, that's once we've done that, then that's one more extra thing we can tick off the list. And the idea would be that we want to be able to move our player, and then the screen will follow the player around the map, right? Cool. So let's see, what do we have in terms of level data again? Because this has changed again now. So we've got our new layers. And we have a width 20, height 16. That's important. So that is that based on the width and the height plus the tile width and height multiplied by the tile width and height gives us the pixel size of the map. That's what we actually want to capture, and based on that and our viewport, we can work out what rectangle sits inside the other one and how we want to scroll them around. Okay, and it's right down. We actually don't pay attention to the rendering order right now. So if it's like left up, then maybe we flip it. Sorry, 1 second.
You want to stop in the bottom left, start in the bottom left, right? So left up might give you that starting point in that bottom left, wouldn't it?
Oh no, oh yeah, but we don't actually pay attention to this. So this is actually how tiled expects. So in tiled, you can choose this option. I don't know, left down. I don't know what.
But if you go,
this was the default, which I think. Well, I was just thinking that this is the default, which I think means left to right, top to bottom. But
yes, yeah,
that's the standard. That's your standard rendering order. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So let me just bear with me 1 second.
And so you're rendering starting in the top left on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, just got a quick message.
Mm-hmm. And you're rendering a specific screen size, which is that original.
We just
size,
render
right?
whatever we're given in terms of data at the moment. We don't really do much of any validation. That's why it's painting outside the bounds right now.
Got it.
So there's definitely optimization. So if this map was like 10,000 pixels, it would just try and paint all 10,000 pixels.
Where's the background blue coming from versus the black then?
So in here, we added this background color on the map.
Yep.
And when we receive that property on the map, we here it is up here, background color. It just paints that inside the view.
But then why is it not painting it the whole screen?
Because that is the screen size. That's the widget size right there at the top where the blue is.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So let me just find game screen here. So if I was to put, just for those that are not sure what we're talking about here, so around our custom paint, if I was to put a clip rect, you're going to magically see what happens.
Yeah, it disappears. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So basically, what's happening right now is, although
you have a custom painter,
and it's just painting outside the bounds of the widget because
because you're not clipping it. So yeah, got it.
So we just tell it. So here, when we try to draw the background, we always draw the background within the bounds.
Yep.
Because it's the bounds we've been given. Oh,
yeah.
My headset just died.
Uh-oh. Time to charge.
Anyway. Right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. I can hear. I hope there's no echo.
No.
Right. So yeah, when we go for the layers here, we actually want to we want render layer to clip the layer drawing to what's visible.
Yeah.
We also want render layer to draw the layers at the offset of where the scroll is. Right?
Yeah. Well, and there's different ways to handle that, right? Because you could do you're gonna have to figure out where the player is compared to the edge, and then scroll, or not scroll, depending on how far away from the edge you are.
Here we go. Game. Sorry, guys. If you haven't been following previously, this always code and the previous videos on the channel on the YouTube channel cover the steps that we went through to get to here. So you can go back and watch them. So when we add a player, the player's position, let's call it start position. Let's do brain, come on. Should we, let's put it at so our screen is 320 by 256 right now. So we'll put it is exactly halfway and make that the start position of the player.
Yep. And Matt's asking, what do you mean by scrolling? Could we just follow the player and use the canvas translate? Well, yeah, except for then you have other scrolling sort of issues, right? So
I mean, that is so just for the player. Look, we're gonna get there now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get to a place where we can actually just try this out. So just bear with me 1 second here. So start position, and then whenever we reset, we can set out position to start position. Oops. Why did you copy everything? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. All right. So when we initialize this object, we're going to set start position. Let's restart. And we have an error because what? Start position. What?
Positional arguments. One required, none given.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, let's name it. Let's give it a name. Let's make it named. Required.
Close enough. Nope, still got it.
Right, let's try again. Where's that? There we are. A little dash in the middle of the screen. All right. So now what we want to do is our game. We've got two things. We need to be able to get the player entity during render, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then we could then render everything around that. So this is what Matt was just suggesting here. So if we go and say player was game.find entity by ID player, and that's a player class. That's interesting. What have I done here? Because it can be null. Let's go. Yeah. In fact, what I'm going to do is, can I do that? Nice. There we go. So now, okay, so that should find the player. It's the entity with that, and then we can get the player's position.
Yep.
Vector 2. And then we can choose to say translate the canvas to the player's position minus half the size of the screen.
You're keeping the player center.
Thereabouts. I'm not going to be fussy with it right now, but we're just experimenting. And then y minus size dot height divided by 2.
Yeah, you need a dot x at the end of that first.
We'll do the width. Okay, so if we do this, whenever you affect the canvas, you should actually use save to save its state, and then you can restore it. Otherwise, this translate affects all drawing operations, even once the canvas is finished with this function.
Yeah.
So at the end, we can canvas restore. Right? Otherwise, it would translate everything after this function finishes as well. Right? All right, so let's hit save. Restart. Okay, nothing's changed, which surprises me, but let's see. Can I get a...
Can you move?
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Well, it's trying to keep the character centered, right?
So I'm just having fun here. Let's. I kind of want to just. I think the first thing I want to do is kind of I think we'll let me paint the canvas blue.
Because you really don't. I mean, in the right way to do it, right?
That's better. Hang on. There we go. That's better.
Yeah.
Right.
Because what you really want to do is you don't want to move the canvas until the player gets to the edge or far enough over that you can.
So even then, the player, we don't want the player to move, right? So the player, where the player is being rendered at the moment is incorrect. In this situation, we actually want the player. So draw player and game entities. So this actually goes through and renders everything on the canvas.
Right.
Object-wise in the game. So if we were to do this the way that we're suggesting, well, first of all, let me just translate take an offset. That's kind of annoying. All right, well, let's just do this. Let's put these in two variables. Let me just show people just how you can do this kind of stuff, and then we can tweak it. So final scroll Y, scroll X. Scroll Y. All right. Then what we can do before we draw our the entities, we reverse the scroll, thus nulling out our scroll, and then afterwards we can reapply that scroll. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it is. But it's. I just want to show you what this is doing. So now what's going to happen is now when I move,
the
entire map is moving like this, right? Why? That wasn't the effect I was looking for, by the way. But What am I doing wrong here? All right, let me restart and just. So we're taking top left right now, which is fine.
Right.
We're basing everything off of top left coordinates.
But you don't really.
No, but why? I'm just trying to work out why. Oh, maybe I'm doing this. Hang on. Let me just do this. I'm expecting them to move that. Okay.
Well,
I'm very confused right now. Hang on. So no, I'm just trying to work out here is if this was.
Well, you need to figure out which way the player's going, right? So you need
Oh,
to
wait.
figure out.
Sorry. I just realized what I'm doing wrong here. Hang on. Have I?
Right, because if the player is going up, you want the background to go down.
Yeah, no, it was that, but I was also thinking about that I always want the player centered in the view, right?
Oh, well, do you?
Well, this is the point, right? Like, what this is because we're not using any coordinate spaces yet,
right?
And I'm just debating about how complicated I want to make this. So let's just undo that for a second and come back to where we were.
Well, so you just keep changing the player's position back to the same position, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then
So this is one way of dealing with it. So see this?
Yeah. No, the problem with that is that you can get to the edge and have stuff off the edge, and you don't want to do that, right? You want to keep the left edge on the left edge.
Yeah. So this is why what we do is we just lock the scroll to what's available. This is the approach I was thinking about doing, right? Which is we allow you to move around the level. Let me make this bigger just so people can see what we're doing here better. So we do this. The player can move wherever they want. They're not locked to the center per se, right? It's just that the scrolling will stop. So the layers will stop painting at a certain place. So what we want is this scroll position to be what we draw the game objects on, and then another scroll offset to be where we draw the layers on.
Right.
Okay. And strictly speaking, this should be like the player size. We don't actually have a size to our objects at the moment. So that's another thing that we don't really do at the moment.
Does player have a rectangle or something?
No, we didn't add anything to do with that at the moment. Our entities are just position and velocity.
But player extends a component, right?
Yeah, Matt's saying that should we create a camera game? Yeah, that's why I was just thinking like a camera entity, and then we get the camera entity and use that to manage this.
Right.
It means we can add like rumble effects and other interesting things. Funny, right?
But if player extends one of the components, does the component have a size box or something so that you can get its size?
No. So that's why I'm trying to look at this going, I can just add a final, I think, size, AABB2. Oh my goodness me, AABB2. And is there is there like a default 0? Yeah. So we can just construct that with 0. And then we should be able to set, I think these are mutable. Yeah, set half in the center, copy half in the center, copy from, transform. So we can transform this through a nice matrix, rotate. You start doing stuff like this, and it's like, well, that's great, but then position becomes a mute point because this is not size. However, we can do nice things like, does this box contain this vector? Does it intersect with another vector? Here's our collision detection, so it does make other things a lot more practical.
Oh, you're doing this. Are you using Flame? I don't even remember.
No, this is all raw. This is just raw.
Got it. Okay, that's where I was. Okay, because I was thinking with Flame you'd have a
Oh yeah.
component and that would have a size.
So
yeah. See, I was thinking a different way of doing it. I was thinking more like you would allow the player to be moved, and the player would move, and the background wouldn't until the player got far enough, either to the right or
so you
up.
can essentially have a virtual free move area. Yeah.
Right, and that way the player's moving, and then once they get far enough up, the screen kind of scrolls up.
Yeah. No, I was thinking
and,
there. I was thinking that as well.
Yeah.
I was just thinking more about like. So at the moment, the player's treated as a point, not as a box.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to solve that problem. Actually, off topic here. So let's go back to the scrolling and look at scrolling first, and then we can then take our scroll, move it into a camera entity, and then look at that. So first of all, let's work out how we want this to scroll and how best to approach the scrolling problem. So first of all, I kind of want. I'm kind of have this controller. All right, so we're scrolling around out. So we'll clip. For us to be able to clip the play field appropriately, first of all, we need to know the visible extents, and we need to be able to calculate that. Oh, I should have started this earlier. I think we went a bit too long narrowing. I want to progress more. Maybe we should do another stream tomorrow with more of this. All right, let's at least stop you from scrolling off the screen here. So,
so you really just got to figure your location compared to the left, top, bottom, and right, and see if there's enough visible space. So the play area space has room.
Right, level box is going to be AABB 2 dot min max. So our min is going to be a vector 2 0, and our maximum is going to be a vector 2, and it's going to be gain dot level dot. We'll say we'll do pixel width, and we'll make some getters for this just to make it life easier. Gain dot level dot label level dot pixel height. I think I might turn off AI plugin. It gets in the way. Right. Don't use it. AI actions. Right. Anyway. Create getter. Right. So we want to say, oh, that's interesting. We don't actually extract width and height. So let's do that as well. So this is the tile width and height background. Let's put those there. This was more appropriate. Okay, it's width, height, and let's just migrate around. Okay, so our width is going to be, it's going to be width, which is the number of cells times tile width. That's our pixel width and our pixel height. Height times tile height. And these can return ints. Okay, so back to here. And of course, this needs to be 2 double. That's fine. All right, so now we have a level box. Let's paint that level box. Let's do red. Of course, can't paint level boxes AABB2, and we're going to need another little conversion.
Yeah.
So let's add. I started doing these earlier, so let's do another extension. So I have an extension AABB2 rect. Now I'm trying to remember the coordinates now on AABB2. I think it was like min and max, right?
Yeah.
Min max center, yeah. So is there a nice way of doing that from min and max? I guess left, top, right, bottom makes more sense. Oops. Right, so the left is going to be min dot x, top is going to be min dot y, right is going to be max dot x, and bottom is going to be max dot y.
Yeah.
Bosh. All right, so now we've done that. We should be able to go back into here and do to rect. There we go.
Mine's not.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about where we're importing colors from. I think I was exporting the vector stuff from somewhere. Hang on. Hide colors. So that should be yeah, we're importing. Oh, you know what it is? We're not. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to also say export package, just to make my life easier. Flutter rendering. Actually, I'm not sure where colors is exported from. No colors. I know material has it. I think. Let's just do material. There you go. All right. So just, yeah. Right. There we go. We now have, hang on.
Like the random colored balls.
Oh, there. That's when you click. When I click on the screen, it makes these. It was something we were playing around with before to do particle effects.
Yeah.
And there you go. So that's all painted in sort of the place where you can see the red border there. Basically.
Yeah. And now if you clipped, it would actually be.
Yeah, it would only be top left, right? Because we're painting it before we trim.
Oh, you'd have to clip it after, yeah.
Right. I just want to make sure that we're calculating. There we go. So now that's moving with the box because it's being painted appropriately. But okay, that's good. Right. So we now want like a window box. We call it window box. I'm wondering if we should do rectangles rather than ABB2. Well, we'll probably flip flop. Let's see. Again, vector 2 0, vector 2 0 for min. Vector 2. I should have just used the vector 2. Like, I really dislike this. Like I get it, but also like they should just be able to. I can't wait. Basically, what we're missing right now is type unions, because then you can make a union of vector 2 or an offset, and then the platform can choose to accept either for that. For when you need to make, use offset, and it's like solved.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anyway, game. Right. What am I doing? Size, width, size, height. Okay, so we have a window box, and we'll render that. Let's make a little, just to make our lives a little bit easier. I'm going to make a little function inline function. Yes, function say draw box AAB2 box. I guess we'll have color, something like that. Color. Right. So that's an inline function for those that have never seen it. Just put a function inside a function. And the reason for doing this is it means we can access like canvas, which is a parameter to the outside function. So we're maintaining the scope. So now down here, after we draw the background, before we scroll, we can say canvas, and we can just say draw box, window box dot, and then colors dot green. No. Come on. Cyan. Let's go for a cyan accent. Why not? That's going to look awful. And then draw box again down here. And then that can take, that can take our level box.
Yep.
And colors red.
Leave it red.
Right. So there we go. So now we have our two boxes around our content. This is just, so we can visualize and help see what's going on. Yep. So we want a movement box.
Well,
so something that says, okay, if you're in this, if it's only until you.
Well, see, what I would do is I would actually do a calculation, right? Of is he more than the size, that height from the edge, top or bottom? And if he is, then we scroll the background. And if he's more than the width from either the left or the right, we scroll the background. But otherwise, we don't.
I think what I want to do is take away canvas save and translate and restore. And instead, we're going to take these and put them inside render layer. And then we're going to pass in an offset. And we're going to say okay, so now we can have a simple right. So, let's just continue what we've got here first. We'll play a center offset or something, and then that's okay. Looks nothing different. Good. Right. So, right. What we were saying that we want to say, I don't even know. I'm hungry. I want my dinner. I can't think.
Well, so what I was saying was right. Okay, so let's say he starts in the bottom left corner, right?
Sure. I mean, I can just move him to where's he gone?
Where is he?
Oh, yeah.
See him on the screen. There he is. Okay. So let's say it starts there, right? You don't want to scroll the background until he gets far enough to the right or far enough up to scroll it in that direction.
Sure.
So what you want to figure out is how far from the border is he? Is he more than the width from the left edge? Means he has to scroll to the right. If he's more than the height from the bottom, the thing has to scroll down, right? So you're either scrolling, right? So if you move to the right,
I mean, we can just
once you get far enough, then the background starts moving.
I want to just try something here. Hang on. What? Alignment is okay. Fine. But I just want to bring that in.
Within rect.
But with that,
But that would move the.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to work out if there was like, yeah. Yeah, gone. Sorry. The way I was just thinking about this was position it, and then if we're in, like, so for example here, I'm way too hungry to think about this, to be honest. Right. If forget about the player's position, because the player's position is off now, because I'm not. Right, let's do this. Hang on a second. Let me. Right, the player is in the center of the screen. Is in the center of the first cube. Right. If we were to move left, the layer shouldn't move any further.
Right.
Right. So the way we can do that right now is we can just inscribe inscribe the wrong word, but essentially move the box layer. Can we offset that? I can't think at all. Yes, we should create camera for the game. Was that previous? No, that was a previous question. I can't even think straight. That's it. I'm looking at in-stream. I'm too hungry. My stomach is just turning over right now. I need to go sort some food out. So
yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is come back to this tomorrow. If people are interested in this, I'm sorry, no, we didn't get to read the coding today, but are people interested in finishing this off? Because we can come back to it tomorrow and do a proper camera and some other things. Are you around, John, tomorrow?
Tomorrow at the same
time. It has to be as early, but we could be later.
Actually, tomorrow at the same time right now looks like I'm good. By this time I have to interview some folks, so earlier is better.
Okay, let's pick this up tomorrow, because we've been going too long.
Yeah, sounds good.
We're trying to keep it short today. It didn't happen.
We try and keep it short all the time, and that never happened.
I know, right? We'll get there. I'm going to push. If anyone wants to play around with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to push the code as it is in its state right now. And the repo link will be in the chat, and you can have a play around. And then if you come back tomorrow, then we can then discuss. If you have implementations, you can put your hash into the chat and everything else, and go from there. I think what I might do. Let me just post this code. Bear with me.
And maybe I'll have the F back up on the wall tomorrow.
Sorry?
The F. The other half.
I didn't even know.
I had it down because I was soldering the LED lights together so that they're both lit up.
Okay, let's do extend map and start scrolling code. Yeah, Camera makes so much more sense. Need to come back to tomorrow though. All right, that's pushed. So for those that don't have the repo link, I will just dig that out for you. Bear with. I have lost all my links. Sorry, everyone. Okay. That's it. That's what I want. Okay, so link is in the chat. So at the moment, this will compile on Windows. It does require, so you can fix that really easily. You can fix it right now. You can we can just comment out the gamepad. We need a different input though if you want to test it out. So what I might do is once I've had some dinner, I'm going to push some code which allows you to use keyboard input arrow keys, just because not everyone has a gamepad that works on Windows. And then if you guys want to have a play around with the scrolling code, camera, whatever you want, that we can then sort of pick it up tomorrow. If you post your stuff in repositories or anything, then we could have a look at those as well tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll post so go follow the Flutter community and myself on Twitter at Dev Angels London, and obviously John as well. I think our tag. Why are our tags on the screen?
They're not on there.
Hang on, there's a button for that.
There
you
it is.
So you follow us on Twitter. We'll push out some announcements with links for tomorrow's show once we've worked out what the time zone is and times and everything.
Yeah.
Then we'll maybe do a couple of hours tomorrow and
sounds
see if
good.
we can sort this out. All right. Right. Well, thanks, John, for joining us.
Yeah.
And thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.